Well, all right, everybody. As you can see tonight, everybody is busy doing all kinds of things. This is a one-man wrecking crew operation, but we got a lot of things to talk about. A lot of things to talk about. It's your boy Jay McLovin. I think Jonathan Mathis might be joining us here a little bit after he gets off of work. Same thing with Gonzo. Hopefully, Gonzo will be here a little bit after he gets off of work. But everybody's getting off of work. The only one that don't work is Jay. That's okay. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna talk some sports. And it's going to be a hell of a good time, man. Let's start off with baseball, if we can. Just a couple of things in the opening remarks. Verlander, as you know, has gone into the open market. He opted out of his $25 million contract, so he is now a free agency. Lots of teams are out there. Put in the comments on who you think or where you think Justin Verlander, coming off of a Cy Young performance and a World Series, where does he land? I got at least 5 spots. I think Jim Crane will try to bring him back. I think he's going to do everything he can to bring him back. But what's he going to command? We know that he opted out of $25 million. Most likely, I think he's going to want $45 million because that's what his boy DeGrom is getting. That's what his boy Scherzer is getting. I think Kershaw is around the $31 million. All these guys are free agents that are going to be out there in the market with a few others, but he's going to want at least $45 million. I think Crane's got the money to make it happen. It's going to be, will he make it happen? And that's what we're going to find out. If he doesn't land with Houston, then where does Verlander go? I think the Yankees could use him. He reunites with Garrett Cole. They certainly got the pocketbook. They're probably going to release some of their hitters anyway that would command a lot of money. So they should have enough money to land a Verlander. If they don't, I think DeGrom probably might leave. If DeGrom leaves, then we're looking at the Mets. Because you know Verlander wants to go to a championship contending team. He doesn't want to just go to a scrub team. So we got Yankees, Astros, Mets. Who else? Giants? Could he go to the Giants? I think so. I think Verlander can absolutely go to the Giants. They have a lot of money. They're also going to be looking to try to get Aaron Judge. And Aaron Judge is going to want at least $45 million as well. So if they bring in a Verlander and an Aaron Judge, now you're looking at probably 90 plus million a year for those two guys. So we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. If he goes to San Francisco, based on whether or not San Francisco even gets Judge, that might not even hurt them. Secondly, where else? Dodgers. Kershaw's on the free agent market right now. We know that pitching was probably the Dodgers' biggest weak point. So I think the Dodgers certainly could land a guy like Verlander. They got the money, no doubt about it, they got the money. And I think he would fit in quite nicely out there in the beautiful, warm sunshine of LA or San Francisco. Okay, he doesn't go to LA. One more destination, and that is the Philadelphia Phillies, baby. The Philadelphia Phillies. You just saw how well they played the Astros in the postseason. So Verlander knows exactly what that Philadelphia team brings to the table. You know they've been struggling with their pitching. What's the biggest thing? You could bring in a guy like Verlander, throw him into your starting rotation, take a guy like Suarez or Syndergaard and throw them into your bullpen, and that strengthens up your bullpen. But I definitely think those are probably my biggest destinations where I would see a guy like Verlander most likely going to. If you look at the Astros free agent list, there's only about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They got 9 free agents that they have to deal with. I think out of the 9, I'm going to give you the quick. Obviously, Verlander, Brantley, Will Smith, the relief pitcher, Mancini, Gurriel, Vasquez, the other well-known catcher that did the no-no against the Phillies. Then you got Litmus Diaz, Castro, and then, of course, Rafael Montero. And if you know anything about Rafael Montero, he was in both the no-hitters that the Astros did this season. So if I look out of those 9 guys, what guys would I bring back? I'm going to try to bring back Verlander. I'm going to bring back Gurriel. I'm going to try to bring back Vasquez and Montero. Those are the guys I would concentrate on. The other guys, they certainly can let go. Brantley, he did not play in the regular season. He didn't play in the postseason. Same thing with Smith. Mancini kind of got a little bit of playing time, but not a whole lot. And then you look at Litmus Diaz, which really did not produce. And then obviously Castro, which they did not use because he was on the injury report. So out of those 9, only 4 of them actually contributed in the regular season and the World Series. And that's the 9. If I'm Jim Crane, that's the 9 I'm focusing in on. And out of those 9 guys, it would probably cost the Astros $71 million a year for all 4 guys. Hell, I'll make that. I'll do that any day of the week. $71 million, and I get Verlander, Gurriel, Vasquez, and Montero. Yeah, that's money well spent. Hell, if you look at the Yankees lineup, they got 6 or 7 guys that aren't even free agents that equate more than $71 million, and they're not even hardly producing for New York. So that $71 million is money well spent in my book. So that's absolutely the way I would go if I was them. I'm going to make that $71 million. And then, if I got other positional needs, I'll look at free agency, or maybe I even look in the minors if I do need to bump anybody up. But I don't think you need to. And I think worst case scenario, if they don't get Verlander, if they just say, you know what, Verlander, you just cost too damn much. The Astros bullpen and the Astros starting rotation, quite honestly, is so deep that it's not really going to hurt them. The only one that would hurt them is if they lost Montero. I think what Montero gives you in the 8th inning and sometimes even in the 9th inning would be far too much for those guys to give up. So that's just kind of where I see the whole Verlander thing and some other free agencies and things of that nature. That's how I see that kind of winding out. We'll move in real quick. Let's talk about the Nets hired Jack Vaughn. The Nets hired Jack Vaughn, the assistant that was with the Nets, which is interesting to me because the reason they hired Jack Vaughn is, as you know, he was named the interim manager when Steve Nash was let go. And the players seem to mesh well with him. He's very familiar with the organization. He drives a competitive nature within the team. He holds them accountable, and he makes that team, for the most part, as cohesive as you can make a team like the Brooklyn Nets, given all the things the Brooklyn Nets have gone through. Interesting. They didn't hire Udoka. Interesting. They hired Jack Vaughn because he has those qualities. And you tell me that Udoka doesn't have those qualities? Last time I checked, Udoka was also an assistant manager under Steve Nash with the Brooklyn Nets. I believe it was the 2020-21 season. If not, maybe even the season before, it might even been the 2019-2020. But he was with the Brooklyn Nets during that time period. And you know what he brings to the NBA. You know he went to the finals. You know that he took Boston from a good playoff team to a great playoff team in the East. He developed that Boston Celtics team. Now, granted, his extracurricular activities, with the females, employees, and things of that nature, and the comments that he made, hey, I don't condone it. So if you want to hold that against him, hold it against him. I think you can squash that in the interview process and still have him be just fine with your team. If it's me, hey, look, I like Jack Vaughn. I don't want to speak ill on Jack Vaughn, but I think the Nets missed the boat by not bringing in Udoka. I think Udoka just would have taken that team to the next level, and I think Kyrie would have settled down. KD would have settled down, and they could have made something out of that team. And I think that Udoka really could have got the most out of a guy like Ben Simmons. We all know what Ben Simmons has been through. He's been fouling out more often than scoring points. So I think a guy like Udoka could square him around, get him doing and being productive, and he really could be an asset for that Brooklyn Nets team that we know is in shambles right now. I'm surprised they did not bring in a guy like Udoka. That really does surprise me. Again, throw your comments in there. What do you guys think about Udoka not being hired, Jack Vaughn getting it? What do you guys think about Verlander and $45 million? And if he doesn't sign with the Astros, where does he sign? Where do you guys see a guy like Verlander landing? Golden State, man, there's another team that just is mind-boggling for me right now. They got the championship last year. They looked dominating last year. All you really did was throw in a guy like Wiseman into the rotation, and that's really about it. This is still the same squad. Why is it that they're on a road trip and they're dropping 5 games consecutively in a road trip? How does that happen? Now, Steve Kerr will tell you that he's been messing with rotations. He's been messing with subs. He's been doing all the things differently to try to spark an interest in this team. And I got to believe that Steph Curry, Draymond, Clay. These guys are going to get this team back on. I mean, these are vets. They've been around the league a time or two. They know how to win. I know that they're just in a rough patch, so there really is no true need to panic per se. But this just is a lot less than what I was expecting out of this Golden State team, especially with a coach like Steve Kerr. Now, I know they got Kuminga, they got Lamb, and they got Wiseman that they've been trying to push up into the rotation to get these guys involved, to get them experience, to get them integrated in with the team, especially Wiseman and Kuminga for sure. And it just hasn't happened. Honestly, I think Wiseman has just not performed as well as I kind of expected him to. But at the same time, with Wiseman, he has been out for a very long time. So we really can't, I guess, truly hold that against him. But man, I really did see him averaging more like around the 10 to 11 point range. And if he can't get the points, I certainly had him more around, the 10 to 11 rebound range. And neither one of those goals has he achieved. And that really does surprise me, given how well he was performing in the interim summer league. Now, I know it's summer league. I don't want to make it out to be more than what it is. But still, I really did expect more than that from Wiseman. But yeah, I just can't. Obviously, they're off to a slow start, and I think they're going to try to go with smaller lineups. That's what Kerr has said. Is he's going to put smaller lineups out on the court. But at some point, he's going to have to figure out. I get the whole smaller lineup thing. Okay, that's fine. If that's what you think can generate it, fine. If you want to have a rotation that features Green, Kuminga, in substitution for Looney, rather than having Wiseman come in and be a substitution for Looney. Hey, if you think that's what's good for your team, so be it. But at some point, Green, Thompson, Curry, they need to pull Wiseman aside and really get this guy up to speed, and get him engaged and get him involved with this Golden State team if they're going to do anything this year, because currently they are just too slow. I think they're like 4-7, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around that neighborhood. 4-7, 4-6. Yeah, they're like what? I think they're sitting around like 10th or 11th. They're not even in the play-in right now. Yeah. Hey, Kurt, you're gonna have to get it going, baby. And I know you'll get it going because I don't see Golden State not making the playoffs. That would be mind-boggling if they didn't. Speaking of teams that are not making playoffs, for the love of God, let's get into the show if we can. Week 10 NFL preview. Talking about teams not looking good right now that looked good last year. We're going to talk about the Bucks. We're going to talk about the Rams. We're going to talk about teams like, the Raiders that were in the playoffs last year. Josh McDaniels comes over, takes over the reins, and all of a sudden they can't win a game, even against the damn Jacksonville Jaguars that are sitting at the bottom of the heap as well. What a time to be alive. Let me say it again. What a time to be alive. Like, seriously, the NFL has completely gone upside down in their power rankings from where they were last year. Seriously. Now, the Eagles have surprised, but the Eagles did make the playoffs last year in the wild card spot. So the fact that they're 8-0, the fact that they are at number one in the playoff rankings is not a surprise to me. The fact that the Buffalo Bills have gone from 2 down to like 4 or 5, now, that is a little bit more surprising. Not to mention the fact that Allen has messed up his UCL, which, as you know, that is clearly Tommy John related. I hope he hasn't torn it. I don't think he's torn it. I think he's probably sprained it or what have you. But, man, what a time to come up with that, especially when you're fighting for first place in your division, when you got the Jets, for crying out loud, and the Miami Dolphins, for crying out loud, breathing down your neck a half game back. So this week of football is going to be amazing. I mean, it's going to be amazing. Everybody, including myself, was saying Buffalo, 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 Buffalo is going to be in the Super Bowl. Now, there were others talking about the Chiefs. We all know that. At the beginning of the year, we're talking the Rams and so forth. Now we're like, Rams? We're talking about the Rams? The Bucks? And old Tom's over there going to Germany saying, well, I'm getting divorced. I'm 4 or 5. I'm tied with the freaking Falcons. in first place. So there is somewhat salvageability to my life. The time to be alive. Tom is saying I'm 4-5 and I'm in first place. What a time. Falcons, Panthers get the playoff or get the game started this tonight, actually. Matter of fact, hearing about in 45 minutes, we'll see that game get kicked off. I got the Panthers taking that one. Believe it or not, I think they're going to right that ship defensively. And I actually had the Panthers pulling off the upset over the Falcons. I know that sounds crazy, but if that happens, you're going to write me and say, Jay, I should have bet on the Panthers. And I'm going to say, you know what? You're right, because that was the upset that I've been predicting all along. Next, we move into the Vikings and the Bills. If Allen doesn't play, then they're going to look to the number 2 guy, which I think, if I'm not wrong, is Casey Keenum from U of H. Not a bad quarterback to use. I mean, the guy he did well at university. He's done well backing up, everywhere he's gone out there in Minnesota Vikings. He did quite well out there, backing up Kirk Cousins and whatnot. So Casey Keenum, he could probably float you, but this is a Vikings team. Let's not forget they have a great defense. We know that. Their offense is amazing with Dalvin Cook now. And then they just brought in Hawkinson from Detroit to shore up that tight end spot. And then you got a guy like Jefferson and a guy like Thielen. And the Bills secondary, which we know is depleted. They lost 2 of their guys that are already out for the season. Can that Bills secondary even come close to handling the Vikings? Now, we do know, let's not get ahead of ourselves, Jay. We do know that the Vikings did get beat by the Bills earlier this year. We know that. But, again, I think this is a different Bills team, and they will lose. If Allen does not play tonight, I'm going to go ahead and call it. The Vikings will get this win. I love Case Keenum, and I think he will make the Bills look reputable in the loss. But I think ultimately, the Vikings will get this win tonight. And what does that mean now for the Bills? Well, it's going to have to depend on what the Jets and what the Dolphins do. And that's why I love this week so much. Because next you get the Dolphins against the Browns. Now, I got Peoples and I got Cooper in my fantasy league. So I do hope that Brissett can get the ball to those guys quite frequently because I do need my points to get my win. But at the same time, I do see the Dolphins and Tua, for crying out loud. As long as Tua stays healthy, this Dolphins team will get the win, and they're going to do quite amazingly good stuff. And, God, Gonzo, I'm so thankful you're here. I was running out of air.
Hey, what's up, brother?
Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, anybody that can do a podcast on their own without a co-host, good God, I love them. And I respect the hell out of them because I'm telling you, man, it's exhausting.
Oh yeah, I've done.
Talks a lot.
I used to do a show every day by myself, and so I know what you mean. I'd much rather have at least one co-host.
Oh.
That's why I was glad when my dad started doing the sports betting show with me, because then I didn't have to do my sports betting show by myself anymore.
Hey, I love your pops. Your pops is one of my favorite dudes. So if I had to do a podcast with anybody, if I couldn't do it with you, I'd love to do it with your pops. He knows this
I told
stuff.
you I'd be here as soon as I finished my interview. I had a pro wrestling interview tonight.
Trust me, I was timing it out. Real quick, I want to kind of go back. We're talking NFL now, but there's one thing I want to ask you about specifically. And it really just kind of has to do with free agents. There's going to be a lot of free agents gone out of the market, man. DeGrom's out there. We know that Kershaw's going to be out there. Verlander just opted out of his $25 million, so he's going to be out there. And then you got some lower guys that are out there. Like, for example, the Astros are going to have Montero out there. And if you know anything about Montero, he was in both of those no-hitters. So, he's going to be – I would have to imagine he's going to be very highly sought after, especially for teams that are looking for that bullpen help. So my question is to you, where do you see Verlander? He's going to want $45 million. We know that because he's going to get the Cy Young this year. His boy DeGrom got paid $45 million. His boy Scherzer got paid $45 million. So he's going to want that quan. He's going to want to get paid, up there with, I would say at a bare minimum $35 million. But I got to imagine somebody out there's going to want him too. He is 39. But where do you see it? The following teams I had was Houston. I had Phillies. I had Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers. Do you see another team outside of that could possibly land a guy like Verlander for what he's commanding?
Who'd you say? The Mets?
So
The
yeah, so I had the
Dodgers?
Mets and I had the Dodgers because of the fact that Kershaw and
Yeah.
DeGrom are on free agency and there's no guarantee that they're going to be back. So both those guys are going to look for an ace. So I had those as my main guys. And then I feel like the Phillies are going to want to bring in an ace. So I put the Phillies in there. You're not going to discount the Astros. I think Crane is still going to try to bring him back. And then lastly, I had the Yankees because I feel like they're going to look for somebody to pair up with Cole. And we know Verlander and Cole would go well together.
Yeah. I think honestly, I think he's going to end back up with the Astros. Just because I think they're going to make him a big enough offer where he'll want to come back and try to run it back and repeat. I mean, it sounds good. Let's go over to the Dodgers. They got a great team, but you know you're on a team now that you know that can win it because you just done it. You go to these other teams, you don't know what the chemistry is going to be. So I think the familiarity of Houston is why I think he's probably going to end up with the Astros. But
Right.
I was just reading a little bit ago. There's 14 free agents have been given qualifying offers, and they have 10 days to accept. And then after that, if they don't, other teams can start going after them.
Right.
One of them is Aaron Judge, DeGrom, Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts, Dansby Swanson, Carlos Rodon. So, man, there's some big names.
There are huge names in there. That's why I thought maybe San Francisco could be in there.
Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bassett. He was a pretty good pitcher for them.
And that's the thing.
This year. Jock Peterson, Evaldi. So, I mean, there's a lot of big names in their market. It's going to be a.
I think if I was the Phillies, if I was a team like a team like the Phillies, or even a team like the Dodgers, I would so much go after a guy like Montero than I would go after a guy like Verlander, because number one, Montero's probably going to want about 9 or 10 million a year, whereas Verlander's going to look for 45. But I think the Dodgers lack bullpen depth. I think the Phillies lack bullpen depth. And you could get Montero at about 10 million. I mean, and that would really help out those guys immensely, considering where their starting pitching is
at. And also, how many years are you going to get Verlander for?
Yeah, because you got to figure he's only 45, and I don't even think he makes it to 45. I think 44, 43. I think what Verlander is looking for is probably a 3-year contract, and I think that's probably what he deserves. It's about a 3-year contract.
Is he going to be able to go 3 more years? You know what I mean? I would say at the most you're going to get maybe 2 or 3 more seasons out of him.
Right.
At the level that we're used to seeing Verlander. I think if you go past 2 or 3 years, I think you're going to start seeing maybe a different version of Verlander. I don't think he's still going to have his stuff as you start getting 44, 45 years old.
And that's true because, with the Tommy John, a lot of pitchers that we know that have gotten Tommy John are much, much younger. And Verlander at 30, I think he was 38 at the time. He's been out 2 years, so that would have put him at 37, 38 when he got to Tommy John. Then he's pitching at 39. I think Tommy John that elbow. I think you're right. I think you ride out 2 years, and that's maybe what if I'm the Astros, I say, look, Verlander, I'll give you 2 years, $90 million. Let's do the job. Let's get the deal done.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what DeGrom is going to look for as well, because DeGrom's about the same age as Verlander. Am I right?
I don't know. Let me look real quick. I'll tell you.
I think DeGrom is like 36 or 37. I mean, he's a little younger than Verlander, but he's not too far off.
Yeah. Let's see what it says here. DeGrom he's 34.
Is he 30? Okay, so he's 5 years Verlander's junior. So maybe I can see giving a guy like DeGrom, I can see you giving him, 5, 6 year deal, maybe 6 years, something in their neighborhood.
If I'm the Phillies, I'd be going after DeGrom.
That's where I would be too, because I think you're going to get a lot more years of competitiveness out of him.
Yeah.
But if you're a guy like Verlander,
just think how good that Phillies team,
you're only getting him 1 or 2 years.
Think how good that Phillies team could be if they get DeGrom and then they get one, even if it's one more arm in their bullpen, one more reliable arm in their bullpen. Man, they'd be a tough team.
Well, if they brought in, for example, let's say they brought in DeGrom and Montero.
Yeah.
I mean, because you figure they've been using Suarez in the World Series as a closer. And if you could bring in a guy like Montero who can close a game, that really helps your back end. And then, like you said, you bring a guy like DeGrom in. I mean, that's hitting it from both sides.
Yeah, you could have DeGrom, Nola, Wheeler, and Suarez as your top four starters. And that's a good pitching staff.
And I think Montero, if you have Montero at the back end, now you got either a closer or you got a setup guy.
And that's really what they were missing this year. They were missing another starter and a closer or a setup guy. That's what they were missing.
And that's why I think Montero's versatility is he can give you a setup or a closer. So that really gives you a lot of options there when you bring a guy like that in. Now, with that being said, I looked at the Astros 9 guys, like I said earlier. And out of the 9 guys, only 4 guys were in the regular season, and only 4 guys were in the World Series. Not that Mancini didn't play a little bit in the playoffs, but I don't think Mancini really contributed as much as $18 million to bring him back. So if I'm the Astros, if you brought back Verlander, Gurriel, Vasquez at your catching position, and Montero, if you brought just those 4 guys back, that gives you $71 million. And all 4 of those guys played heavy minutes in the World Series postseason and regular season. And $71 million is not a bad thing when you're getting those key positional guys and those 2 pitchers.
No, not at all. Let me ask you a question. Where do you think Aaron Judge ends up? Do you think he stays in New York?
I've been thinking about that. I'm still heavily leaning on San Francisco.
That's where I think it's either San Francisco or the Yankees. I think he either stays with the Yankees because he's familiar there, or he goes to San Francisco and gets to basically play like in his hometown and for the team he was always a big fan of.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm not putting the Dodgers in there, even though the Dodgers, I'm sure, will put an offer out there, is number one, he already loves San Fran. That's his hometown team. And it's going to be very hard for the Dodgers to compete with the guy when he wants to go to a hometown team. And if they get run, but again, they're trying to get Rondon back. I mean, I still think San Fran, I think their pocketbook is deep. He loves the city. They want him there. He might want to, he did say, and I don't know if you saw that, but he did say, he came out and said he regretted not signing that contract with the Yankees before the playoffs, or before the season started. He actually regretted it. But I think when it comes down to it, man, I would not be surprised if we see him in a San Francisco uniform. But what's detrimental to the Yankees is the fact that he's the face of the freaking Yankees. And do you really want to lose the face of your franchise?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the.
Damn. It went from Jeter right on to Aaron Judge.
I think if you lose Judge, you're going to have some disappointing. The Yankees fan base is going to be real disappointed, unless you lose Judge and you bring in a 1 or 2 of these other big free agent names where your fan base thinks you're improving the team. But if you lose Judge and you don't make a splash with a different free agent, there's going to be a lot of pissed off people around the New York Yankee organization.
Oh, no doubt. And I think, if they lose a guy like Judge, now this guy's not on the market, but I'm just using him as an example. If you lost a guy like Judge, the only way you could salvage yourself, I think, in front of the Yankee fans, is you'd have to bring in a guy like Bryce Harper. Somebody with a lot of notoriety, a lot of clout, a lot of fame, a big home run hitting type guy. You'd have to bring in, a big name guy like Bryce Harper if you wanted to let go of Judge. Or you had to bring in a guy like Goldschmidt from St. Louis. You had to bring in somebody who has a lot of clout if you're going to try to replace an Aaron Judge to be the face of your franchise, of the biggest franchise in baseball. I mean, that's going to be crazy.
Yeah, no, it's going to be real crazy. My bad. I just got some kind of message and it's weird. I was trying to figure out what the hell it was.
Man, I get them all the time. Usually it's from spam people, but yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. It's a text message telling me that I need to do it. I need to log into an Upleak account. I'm like, I don't even have this is log into your Upleak account.
Man, hey, look, when they tell me I got to log into something, I start getting leery.
I don't even have a fucking Upleak account. So,
yeah. Hey, wait till you get to the ones that say, hey, I'm from Geek Squad, and we're going to automatically renew your plan for $416. And I'm like, I don't even have anything with Geek Squad. Yeah, those are the ones you got to start looking out for because they're mostly spam. But yeah, man.
If you not respond, we will be required to deny your claim and set up an overpayment for any weeks paid from July 27, 2021 to now. So I'm like, dude, it's just one of those I delete.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, Anthony Price. How the hell do they even get your phone number to send you a text like that? Is what pisses me off.
Man, well, no, they pay people. They pay people for a list of emails and stuff like that. They just randomly send it to you. Anthony Price says there's nobody out there in free agency that's bigger than Judge. No, I totally agree with you.
No, I wouldn't say there was anybody bigger than Judge. I was just saying if they lose Judge, they better get a couple other of these free agents, or there's going to be a lot of pissed off people. Plus, if you lose Judge, you got to get, even though these other free agents aren't as big as Judge, you got to get one or two of them to help improve your team. Because I mean, you're losing a lot if you lose Judge. I mean, especially if he can stay.
We're gonna get more into Judge too. I actually have a topic that's all about Judge and Ohtani, so we'll get into those guys pretty deep here in just a second. But no, I definitely agree with you in terms of who's bigger in free agency, at least at the hitting level, right? But no, hey, so Gonzo is kind of walking week 10, and I know you obviously have a betting show. I'm taking the upset tonight. I'm taking Panthers over Falcons. How do you see that game playing out?
I actually took the Panthers as well. I actually watched they played each other 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And me and my dad and my son went to this casino about 30 minutes from where we live and sat there at the sports book, and they have all the games on, every game on.
Right.
So we actually watched some of that game. Carolina should have won that game if the guy if DJ Moore and another guy wouldn't have took their helmets off, got a penalty, and then the extra point was a 48-yard kick, and the kicker missed it. Then the kicker missed a kick in overtime. I like the Panthers in this game. I took the Panthers. Actually, let me find. I think I took them to win money line today. Oh, it's right here. Today's the 10th. Yeah, I took Panthers at the plus 122 on the money line. Yeah. And I also like the under the the over the 41.5. So I think both these teams will score in the 20s. But I'll be honest with you, I'm a big PJ Walker fan. I know he didn't play good last weekend. He threw 3 interceptions in the first half and got benched. And then Baker Mayfield came in and threw like 3 touchdown passes in the second half. But that interim coach, Wilkes, said he's starting Walker tonight. And I think some of that is because of the success Walker had 2 weeks ago against the Falcons. But I was a big PJ Walker fan. He was on the Colts practice squad. Then I watched him in the XFL for Houston, where he was going to be the MVP of the XFL if COVID wouldn't.
Well, I remember when he was with Houston.
Yeah,
I definitely remember when he was with Houston. And let's be honest, I think Baker at this point, though, I think Baker's ready to come back and show that he still has it. I think there's a lot of competitiveness in Baker that wants to get back out there and do his job.
Well, this is what I was telling my dad on the sports betting show when we was talking about this game. You have PJ Walker, who spent his career on practice squads in the NFL, was on the Colts practice squad for 2 or 3 years, goes to the XFL, plays good there, got an opportunity in Carolina. And one of the main reasons he got the opportunity in Carolina was Matt Rule was his college coach at Temple.
Right.
So he gets there with Matt Rule. Well, now Matt Rule's gone, and you got PJ Walker, you got Baker Mayfield, who was the number one overall draft pick. Sam Darnold, when he was what, number 1 or number 2 overall?
Right.
You got them 2 guys and you're deciding to start the guy that's had to go to a practice squad, XFL, and all this just to get to the NFL. What does that say about how far Mayfield and Darnold have fallen in a lot of the
Absolutely.
NFL coaches' eyes? Because I mean, to me, don't get me wrong, I'm a big PJ Walker fan, so I'm glad he's starting. But to me, you just saw Baker Mayfield throw 3 touchdown passes in the second half of that game last week.
Yeah.
To me, it's just surprising that they're not going back with Mayfield.
I mean, when you look at a guy like Darnold, Darnold doesn't really surprise me because Darnold has never had a successful season since he got signed with the Jets. Now, it doesn't mean that he can't have a Geno-like year if he goes to a team like Seattle that has, great wideouts, great running back,
getting the right system.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that Darnold can't do the same thing. The one that really surprises me the most is a guy like Mayfield, who had a guy like Nick Chubb, a guy who had a Torrey Hunt, a guy who had Amari Cooper and Landry and all these other, wideouts, and still couldn't do nothing with it. So I think Baker really has surprised me the most. I think he could have done more with what he had. But again, the reason why I was saying this week is so incredibly important is because, like I said, the Falcons and the Bucks are tied for first. I believe at 4-5 or 5-4, something of that nature. And then you got the Bucks going across the pond, and I wonder if they're going to win across the pond. And then you got, and I believe they're playing. Who are the Bucks playing? I wrote it down. No, Seahawks. So they're playing the Seahawks in Germany. And I'm pretty sure. And I hate to say it to go against Brady because nobody wants to go against. But I'm thinking Geno is going to take out Tom Brady and the Bucks. What do you think?
Oh man, that's going to be a good. I think it's going to be a good one. Here's what I'm wondering: is that last drive of that game where Brady brought the team, they scored to win that game last week? Is that going to finally maybe light a spark in the Tampa Bay's offense? I think that's a big question. The way Seattle's been playing, I kind of favor Seattle. But I'm like you. I hate betting against Brady.
I hate because every time I bet against Brady, 9 times out of 10, I don't.
So I'm gonna give a pick out tomorrow for that game, but it's hard for me because I have a rule in baseball that I don't bet against Adam Wainwright. Because every time last year that I picked against Adam Wainwright when he was starting, and I picked the other team, he burnt me every damn time.
Right.
So I'm the same way with Brady. I don't like betting against him, but in this situation, I'm kind of leaning toward the Seahawks just because they've been playing better football. They've been playing better football than what Tampa Bay has, and not just offensively. Tampa Bay's defense hasn't really showed up here this season like we thought they would be. You know what I mean? Todd Bowles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Todd Bowles supposed to be this defensive-minded coach, and their defense don't look like it did the last couple of years. I know
I'm totally with you on that.
Bucks have had some injuries, so I mean that's part of it. But this team don't look the same as it did when you had Arians as a head coach, Bowles as a defensive coordinator, and Leftwich as an offensive coordinator. Now that you've made that change with Bowles as head coach, for some reason the defenses went down, and then the offense, some of it's Brady. I think Brady's he's finally starting to look old. Looks like Father Time's finally caught up with them. And they've had a lot, but they've had a lot of injuries to their receiving core as well. And another thing that hurts them is if they can't run the ball, they're in trouble. They can't get that running game going. They really struggle.
And Fournette's usually given you pretty good running last year. He did a good job at running the ball. This year, he hasn't nearly looked as dominant as he did last year. But, the way I see this division, this is a big divisional game. Like I said, you got Falcons and Panthers going at it. You got Bucks and Seahawks going at it. And I think probably, and this is my opinion, but I think, when you got, one or two things is going to happen. Either A, Falcons and Bucks are both going to lose, or B, Bucks or Falcons will win, and then somebody's going to take control of the division. But I got to be honest with you, if I had to put it like this, I think it's going to stay status quo going into next week. I think it's going to stay. I think the Falcons and the Bucks both lose, and they both just stay tied in that division.
No, I could very easily see that happen. Like I said, I like the Panthers against the Falcons, which is weird to say. It's just weird to say because the season that the Panthers have had.
Right.
But I mean, and I've seen these two teams play last 2 weeks ago, and that was in Atlanta. This time it's in Carolina as well. So that's another reason I favor Carolina over Atlanta, because Carolina was able to go on the road and play a pretty good game and keep it competitive and have a chance to win. So I think they'll be able to do the same thing at home.
So I got a question for you. We know the Vikings are going to play the Bills again. I believe the Vikings, if I'm not mistaken, lost the first one. Now we're getting the second go around of this,
But
and it looks like there is a chance.
They haven't played yet this season.
I thought they played earlier. I thought this
No,
season.
because they're not in the same division, so they only would play one time.
And for some reason, I had them playing twice. Maybe I looked at something different. I'm sorry, but either way,
because the Vikings are in the NFC and they're in the AFC. They're not in the same division.
Yeah. But my question is this a Super Bowl preview?
It could be. The Vikings are looking good. I know everybody's going to say, but they can't win in prime time because Kirk Cousins' record in prime time. And I understand his record has been bad in prime time, but also when you lose a primetime game, it ain't all the quarterback's fault. There's times that he's played pretty good on a Thursday night or a Monday night or a Sunday night game, but his defense, the offense would score 27, 28 points, but the defense would give up 30.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to me, when a game like that, that's not all in the quarterback. Now, if you lose a game 20-17 on prime time, okay, hey, your quarterback needs to do more. You should be scoring more than 17 points with all the weapons Minnesota has. But when you're scoring 28, 30 points and you lose on prime time, to me that it's not all the quarterback. And the only loss the Vikings have this season is to the Eagles, and that was like the second game of the season. Vikings didn't Vikings didn't play very good. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I think that matchup would be a better game this time than what it was the second game of the season. So, and I think to me, I know the Bills have been struggling a little bit with injuries. Now you got to worry about Josh Allen's elbow. But if Josh Allen's healthy and the Bills have all their offensive weapons, I still favor the Bills right now to get out of the AFC. It's not going to be easy. Don't get me wrong, because Kansas City's a hell of a team, and you got some other teams in the AFC. But I think you're right. It could be very easily be a preview of the Super Bowl. It's one of the games I'm looking forward to on this Sunday.
Yeah, again, that's one of the games I'm looking forward to as well. And then Sanders says, "Yo, Gonzo, you Spanish," and I'm thinking to myself, "Well, you sure as hell not African American."
Yes, Sanchez, I am Spanish. I just don't. If you see my dad, then you would know I'm Spanish. I'm Mexican, but I just don't have the complexion like some of the other people in my family. But Rob Scott says he favors the Ravens now, and to me, I mean, don't get me wrong.
That's because the Ravens are his team. I don't favor the Ravens.
They're a dangerous team, but what scares me about them is I don't know if they have enough weapons on the offensive side of the ball to beat some of these other teams, because they don't have a receiver. Their best player, their best receiving options are tight end. He's been banged up. They've been having trouble keeping a running back healthy, which I think maybe Kenyon Drake might be able to take care of that. But them not having some weapons on the outside for Jackson to try to get the ball to is what scares me the most about Baltimore.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying. If I'm a defense and I'm going up against the Baltimore Ravens, I've already got it in my mind. Okay, I'm gonna spy Jackson. I'm gonna spy him so he doesn't get those easy, 20-yard quarterback sneaks or whatever. I'm gonna spy Jackson, and then I'm gonna double down on those receivers a little bit to where he has nobody to throw to but run the ball. And I just feel like
now if they
because they're a run first team, I feel like it's easier to game plan against them.
And to Rob Scott's point, if they get Bateman back and Andrews healthy, don't get me wrong, they're going to be a dangerous team, but I just don't know if they're going to have enough to get past the Bills. And Sanders said even with the hurt Josh Allen, I said if Josh Allen's healthy. We don't know
Right.
what's now. If he's still dealing with the elbow issue, Bills could be in trouble. But if
I mean,
Josh
think
Allen's
about it though. If the Bills don't have Josh Allen and they lose to the Vikes, and then the Dolphins beat, and the Dolphins beat the Browns. I mean, because the Jets are on a bye.
yeah,
It's very easily to say that, hey, come Monday or Tuesday, we could be looking at a new division leader, and it ain't going to be the Bills.
I'll tell you what's crazy is everybody was talking in the offseason about how the AFC West was going to be the toughest division in football. Now it's looking like the AFC East is going to be right up there as the toughest division in football. You got the NFC East that looks better than what it has in how many years. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
the two divisions, the AFC East has always been ran basically by the Patriots. The NFC East has been a division where if you won 8 or 9 games, you had a chance to win your division. And now you're starting to see like Cowboys are better, the Giants are better, the Eagles are good. And then you look at the East, the Jets are looking like they're a formidable team. The Dolphins are looking like they're a formidable team. You have the Bills. The Patriots aren't terrible. They're not at the level of the other 3 teams, but they're not like a terrible team. So it's kind of interesting how the season's unfolded where the AFC West, the Broncos have looked terrible. Raiders have looked terrible. Chargers have lost. Chargers can't stay healthy. Injuries have killed them, and their coach can't get out of his own way. So
no doubt about it, and that's why I feel like if you look at the AFC side of life, how many of those top AFC teams really have a running game?
And that's true. And see, I agree with Anthony. If I'm the Bills, I'd sit if his elbow's that bad, I'd sit him this week. You need him help. You need him help. I know you want to win your division and you want to get the home field and all that, but it don't matter if you get all that home field and everything, and you keep playing him and his elbow gets worse. It's not going to matter. You're not going to go nowhere in the playoffs.
Because if he tears it, now you're looking at Tommy John. If you get Tommy John,
you're
looking at probably a year to 2 years of nothing.
Yeah, and if you get in the playoffs this year and he's hurt, you're not, and you got to take you play him this week, he gets hurt and can't play in the playoffs. You're not going anywhere with Case Keenum in the playoffs as your quarterback.
Yeah,
nothing against.
I think if you're the Bills, I think you're right. I think you rest him. You can make sure you have the medical evaluations on him, do some MRIs, make sure everything looks good before you try to put it back out there. Yeah, and like you said, lose him for 2 years if he has to have Tommy John.
I'd rather lose him for a week or 2 than lose him for a year and a half.
Man, hey, listen, I think you and everybody else.
My medical staff would look at it, and if they said there was any kind of chance that it could get worse, I wouldn't play him this week. Now, if you're
so that brings up now, you got another classic game. You got to have Dallas up against the Packers this week. This is the first time McCarthy's been back to Green Bay since they fired him. And we know that, Green Bay is on a 5-game, or they're coming off of a 5-game losing streak. This is the perfect time for the Cowboys to just sweep in. And in my opinion, they should get a pretty comfortable win and go to 7-2. Or Gonzo, do you see it differently? Do you think that Green Bay rights the ship and beats the Cowboys and gets back on track over this? But I think it's going to be a very competitive game, given how good the Cowboys defense is playing right now.
I would like to say that I'd like to tell you right now that the Packers are going to come in and be on fire and are going to stop this losing streak, because I'll be honest with you. I know you're a Cowboys fan, but I can't stand the Cowboys. But
it's okay.
But I don't see the Packers beating the Cowboys this week. I just don't. They don't have no weapons on offense other than their running backs.
Wait a minute, Gonzo. I thought you loved the Cowboys.
Oh no. Nope. Not a.
Well, then when you get that Emmitt Smith jersey in the mail, you can just put return to sender. Then.
No, hey, it would go right up here on the wall with all my other jerseys and stuff. But no, like I said, though, I don't think the Packers have a chance because I don't see the Packers. The Packers offense can't score points.
Yeah.
And the Packers defense they're decent, but they're not a great defense. I think the Cowboys defense will be able to shut that offense down. I really not expecting it to be a real close game. I really ain't.
Do you think the Packers aren't using Aaron Jones nearly enough?
Yes, I do, because Jones and Dillon are really the only weapons you have right now.
Right.
Besides Aaron Rodgers. On the outside, you're dependent on a Randall Cobb that, don't get me wrong, Randall Cobb was a good receiver in the league for years, but he's at the age where he's not the same guy anymore. Lazard, who I think has the potential to be pretty damn good, but hasn't been able to stay healthy this year.
He's had a lot of shoulder issues as of lately.
So, but like Anthony said, he goes laughing out loud. This would be the game that the Packers wide receivers show up.
Hey, listen, I'm not gonna be mad if Lazard shows up.
That would be your luck, Jay. This is the week that the rookie receivers for the Packers make some big catches. And
hey, you know what? Hey, this is going to be one of those weeks, Gonzo, that I'm going to be conflicted within myself. And I say that because Lazard is one of my wide receivers in fantasy. So it's almost like if he gets a touchdown, I'm like, yes. And if he gets a touchdown, I'm like, no. Yep. So I'm gonna be talking out both sides of my mouth, angry and pissed at the same time. Talk about bipolar. Holy shit. No, but and then let me tell you this question, Gonzo.
So let me tell you this real quick. Sunday me and Dad was watching the Colts game. We watched the first half of the game, and then we had to leave because we was going to do a wrestling show.
Right.
We're driving to the wrestling show. Dad's keeping track of. We're listening to the Colts game on the radio, but he's looking on his phone, and he has Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback in fantasy.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he would go, shit. That's why he goes, Aaron Rodgers just threw an interception. And he goes, he fucking threw a second interception. He was getting mad. He threw those three, but it was just funny because he was following the game on his phone because of fantasy.
Gonzo, have you seen? I've seen reports, and I don't know if it was reports that I saw, or it was on Facebook, because I always my mind works in so many weird. But I have seen somewhere in writing where they have talked about possibly benching Aaron Rodgers.
I don't see it.
Could you imagine that?
Yeah, I don't see that.
Would they ever do that? And then what? You bring in Jordan Love? I don't know. And it may have been a joke. I don't think they ever benched Aaron. I just can't imagine.
Yeah, I know some people are saying that they should because it's Love's third or fourth year, and they need to see what they have with him. Or
don't they kind of know what they have in him though? By now?
I think they know. I think they know. Here's what tells me they know what they have in him. They gave Aaron Rodgers $50 million a year to come back for 2 or 3 more seasons. That shows you what they think of Jordan Love.
He says, Anthony Price says, so Jay, do you care about your Cowboys winning or your fantasy team winning? Hey, I will tell you, that's a tough one, Anthony Price. I'm going to tell you why. Because my fantasy team, the last time my fantasy team won was back when the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. So I don't know. That's a hard one. But okay, at the end of the day, I want the Cowboys to win. I'm always going to go with the Cowboys. That's a hard question, especially when I haven't won the fantasy.
Hey Jay, I went 4-0 this weekend on my fantasy team.
Hey, what's funny is, first of all, if you're going 4-0 in your fantasy team, that's pretty freaking badass. I would love to go 4-0.
Like for 3 weeks in a row, I kept going 3-1. I'd always lose in one of them, and it usually would switch. But this week, I finally got the victory in all 4 in the same week. I'm in first in the touchdown crew league, second in our Gonzalez league. I'm stuck in like 6 in the unscripted league, but that one's a 20-team league. So to be in the top 10, I'm happy.
The funny thing about that was, is Frankie, when I first came out and I was like 0-3, sitting at 19, right above freaking Damian. And I was getting all this flack from Frankie and everybody that I was sitting at dead left, and now I'm sitting at 11 at 4-5. So you know what? I think I guess who's a one or a half a game ahead of me, Frankie, right above me. Frankie's at number 10. I'm at number 11. How crazy is that?
I had like a 4-game winning streak going until I played Logan last week, and he
listen,
whooped my
Logan's on a
ass.
whole nother level right now.
Yeah, he whooped my ass.
Honestly, that dude's just on a. I don't know, man. And the thing about it was he was drafted like at 15, 16, 17, somewhere around there, and he's sitting undefeated. So hey, do with that as you will. Freaking Logan, man. Question. I got a question for you. Giants are gonna play the Texans this week. Now, this isn't a question of who's gonna win, because we know that. It's more of a question of Saquon versus Pierce. Saquon comes into the game with 779 rushing yards, and Pierce has 668. And you know both of these guys have just been tearing it up game by game. So my question is this. When the Houston Texans play the New York Giants, who's going to have more rushing yards, Saquon or Damian Pierce?
I'm going to say Saquon, because I think the Giants defense is a better defense than what the Texans have. So I think they'll be able to get Saquon going. I think the Giants are going to be able to slow down the Houston Texans offense. So I say Barkley, but I also have Barkley in one of my fantasy teams. So I'm rooting for Barkley to have a big game. But without talking about, hey, bro, I pray your ticket hits, but if it does, don't forget.
I pray it too. Hey, listen, I pray so hard. Rob Scott, if you will give me at least a third, or not even a third, if you will give me 1/7 of your winnings, I will make sure to have my church prayer team pray as well. And that's probably a good 60 people. So I could put you in the prayer chain and get 60 more prayers. If I get 1/7, you let me know. You say, Jay, I got you at 1/7, and I'll have the whole prayer chain praying for you.
Hey, Rob, I hope you hit your ticket, and I hope Mike Hughes has a big NBA ticket tonight. Hopefully he hits that.
Hey, David says, I hate y'all for making me draft for 15. Laugh out loud. Oh, no. I'm talking about FanDuel. Well, hey, listen. FanDuel. I don't know. Hey, how much is your ticket going to pay out? Hey, you give me 1/7 of the payout, and I'll put the whole prayer chain on there.
Hey, put it this way. Somebody sent me a ticket today, asked me my opinion on it.
Yeah.
And if it hits, it'd be for $52,000.
You know, it was interesting. Wait, you said $52,000?
Yes.
And this is wait. Okay, I'm trying to process that what you just told me, because all I heard was $52,000. Are you putting this bet down now or tomorrow?
No, I didn't put the bet down. Somebody has it that ticket tonight. It's an NBA ticket with like 5 games, and if it hits, it would be worth $52,000.
Well, I hope it hits. I like to see people win. I hope it hits, man. Look, I saw, Mattress Mac. I told you about this earlier. Yeah. He had the original $10 million bet. We all saw that. We all know what that was. But I also saw on Facebook where he had a side bet where he did it on Facebook where he's got the chips in his hand and he's putting a $2 million 5-1 odds on when he did it on game 6 on that specific game. So he actually won 2 different bets.
Yeah.
One that he plays $2 million on, and the other one he plays $10 million. I mean, what a time to be alive for Matt.
The bet he put $10 million on was the largest payout ever in legal betting. Since betting became legal, that's the largest payout ever. It was the $10 million bet he put on the Astros.
He said Texas defense did give Miles Sanders hell last week, so I wouldn't be shocked if Saquon gets stopped this week. Possible. I mean, it could happen. Anything can happen.
It's possible, but I also saw Jonathan Taylor run for 165 yards on the Texans earlier in the season. So, I mean,
here's another question I got for you, Gonzo. My second question for you is, Malik Willis has gotten the last 2 starts for the Titans due to an ankle issue with Tannehill. We know that he's had a lack of production throwing the ball, for crying out loud. I think the last game he just came out of was like 80 yards passing. So the lack of production that he's given the Titans his last 2 starts, is that a reason? Should the Titans be concerned that Malik Willis is probably going to be a bust, and maybe they should be looking elsewhere as a backup quarterback or a future potential heir apparent to Tannehill, or maybe Willis just isn't it? I mean, what are we looking at with Willis?
I don't know if Willis is a bust or isn't it. I think it's more of he isn't ready yet, and they had to put him out there sooner than what they wanted to because of the injury with Tannehill. I think he needs to sit behind Tannehill, keep learning how to read defenses and everything. Because what pick was he in the draft? Didn't they give him in the second round?
He went second round because Pickett was the first one that the Steelers took. That was first round. The first.
Yeah. So I mean, with Willis being a second round pick, they weren't planning on playing him this year. You know what I mean? They planned on probably setting him a year or two and then seeing what he was. I think it's too early to say he's a bust. Dude's athletic as hell, can make plays with his leg, but he hasn't looked good throwing the ball.
That's really where he's got to put a lot of practice just throwing the ball. And I think they really need to get him an off-season throwing coach to really work. And I would say probably bring out Robert Woods and whatever else and be like, hey, look, I want you to go with this wide receiver coach. this quarterback throwing coach. Take 2 of the wide receivers with you. And I want you guys to hammer this crap out, because I think they really got to start making that investment in him to see what they have. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the other thing you got to look at is how many reps was he getting with the starters before Tannehill got hurt and he had to come in? You know what I mean? He probably wouldn't get.
Well, no, I agree. And again, it's not like Robert Woods is a good wide receiver. We know Treylon Burks has been hurt for a while, so it's not like. I get what you're saying. It's not like he's had like this great receiving core to throw to. So there's some issues that the Titans have to think of.
I will say this: if the Titans had Tannehill starting last week, I think they would have beat the Chiefs.
I think so too. That's exactly where I was going with that. I think if Tannehill was there, I think you're right.
Because that Titans defense played their asses off. Their quarterback completed like 6 passes the whole game,
and Henry had a good day running the ball as well.
Yeah, Henry ran the ball good, and then their defense played their asses off, and then came up a little short there at the end.
I think at the end of the day, if I'm the Tennessee Titans, I think the Kansas City Chiefs loss, though, even though it's a loss, I think it probably gave Vrabel a really good idea of his team. So when Tannehill comes back, them resting him, they're comfortably in the driver's seat in the AFC South. So it's not like they got to worry about that. But I think they got to make sure Tannehill is 100% ready to go.
Hey, wait a minute. The Titans better worry.
Come on.
The Titans better worry. Hey, the Colts with Jeff Saturday are going to win about 7 games in a row.
Hey, listen. Hey, you know what, though? Again, I told you with the Colts, I think it's just a matter of, them getting the right guy at the coaching spot and then really just dissecting this team and figuring out, where to go. And because I don't think this is a bad team. You got to
stud running back. I know everybody on TV don't like it, and because it's different. I don't think it was a bad move to bring Saturday in as an interim coach. I really don't. You're getting a fresh set of eyes on your team that can evaluate the team, tell Jim Irsay why his opinion and everything. And you're bringing a guy that was a consultant. He's been a consultant with the team, so he's been around the team. I think he'll be able to keep the team together, build a culture, keep that culture going. I don't think it's that bad of a move. I really don't. And what's the worst thing that can happen? Oh, we keep losing like we already was, and we get a high draft pick. I mean, you know what I mean? It ain't like we're 7-1, and you're bringing in a coach that has no experience. Real quick about the and I want to, because I did, I saw this today and I thought about you, Gonzo, and I really did want to ask you this question. You guys have yet, you got Nick Foles as your backup. Why are we not giving Nick Foles an opportunity? I think after Jim Irsay, I think after Ryan, it wasn't working with Ryan, which I still say wasn't all Ryan's fault. When you have an offensive line that can't block for you, and you're not a mobile quarterback, you're going to be in trouble. I think Irsay, once that experiment failed, I think Irsay wanted to see what they have in Ellinger. So I think
I
that's why
don't get them. I'm
But,
not upset with them using Ellinger. I'm not, because I think you have to find out what you have in him.
and I think he's played pretty good. I know he struggled against New England last week. Most young quarterbacks struggle against Bill Belichick. So,
But let me ask you this, Gonzo. But this is really what.
And he got sacked 9 times. I mean,
no, that's true. But this is where I'm conflicted. If you're, like you said a minute ago, look, you guys aren't that far off from Tennessee, and I think if you did bring in a guy like Nick Foles, which we know won this, we know he's got experience. Could you bring in a Nick Foles, try to salvage this season with a Nick Foles, and then go from there and possibly make the playoffs? Or are you saying, hey, we don't care if Nick Foles could salvage the season. We're ready to go with Ellinger at the expense of winning. We're going to go with Ellinger and ride it into the sunset and then come back next year?
I think they'll probably stick with Ellinger, but I did see today Jeff Saturday that he was asked about that. Was he who was going to be the quarterback, if they were going to go back to Ryan or Ellinger? And he said that Ellinger was going to be the quarterback this week. So, I mean, if Ellinger don't play decent this week, who knows? Saturday might put Foles in, or you might see Matt Ryan come back in. But honestly, I'm fine with them playing Ellinger. See if he's the guy. If you think he's the guy that's going to be able to, be your franchise quarterback. And if you don't think he is, well, like I said, once the season hurt, now you'll have a high draft pick to maybe get a Hooker or a Young or one, one of these top quarterbacks coming out in the draft. So to me,
I will tell you this, just to throw in a few comments in here. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. If you want to look at where they are now, there's no way Malik Willis is better than Tannehill. Not that he can't be better than Tannehill, but as status quo, he's not better than Tannehill. I can't believe I put that up there. Culture trying to tank. That's why they're not putting in Foles. I'm okay if they tank. I think guys is okay if they tank, because then you probably get a hell of a good shot at one out of the 3 stud quarterbacks coming in the draft. So that doesn't hurt them either.
That's what I'm saying. The worst thing that can happen is we're going to be up high in the draft, and we'll be trying to get a quarterback.
And I personally think if you came in 5th, you could offer up a nice little draft package, get in the number 2 spot, and then you're either going to take Bryce Young or Hooker or CJ Stroud if you really want a little bit of a project. I mean, you got some things there to work with.
I don't want Stroud.
I don't want Stroud either. I'm just saying as a third option.
If I had my pick, I like Hooker.
Oh, I like Hooker too. I think what Hooker can do with his arm and what he can do with his legs really puts you in a good spot. I think that kind of puts you. I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes or anything like that. I'm just saying he is the style of quarterback like a Mahomes or a Josh Allen, where they can throw the ball, but then they can also run the ball. They can scramble. They can go left. I love that prototypical type of guy. And I think Bryce Young kind of struggles with that.
And Rob Scott says Bill Belichick will always be a dangerous defensive mind, and that's why. As well as I was saying about Ellinger, his first week he played pretty good. Colts should have beat Washington.
Yeah.
Then the next game you had to go against a Bill Belichick defense. If you go back and look, rookie quarterbacks don't do good against Bill Belichick's defense. They usually kills them. So it didn't surprise me that they didn't play well, but he got sacked 9 times. If your offensive line ain't protect you, you don't have a chance anyway.
Oh, no doubt about it. And again, Rob Scott goes on to say Nick Foles was a one-hit wonder. Well, last time I checked, a clock is right 2 times a day, and sometimes maybe even Nick Foles could be right 2 times before he calls it a quit in his career. Let's not write off Nick Foles just yet.
He went on a historical run, that's for sure.
Gonzo, let me ask you this. Debo and running back Elijah Mitchell should be back in the lineup, possibly versus the Chargers. With the addition of McCaffrey, can they pull off the upset versus the Chargers? Which I don't know if that's so much of an upset, but can they beat the Chargers and go on to win possibly the division if you have a healthy McCaffrey, Mitchell, Debo, Furyk, and so forth?
Honestly, I think if the 49ers get healthy, I think they're a team that's real dangerous and that could come out of the NFC represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I really do, if they can stay healthy, because you just added McCaffrey, you get Mitchell back, which I'm hoping he comes back because I have him on fantasy. Only bad
Right.
thing is, but what it does though, you don't have to put so much on Debo Samuel. You don't have to put so much on McCaffrey's plate. So then that might reduce the chances of injury for one, because both of them have had a little bit of trouble. McCaffrey more than Debo, but I think them getting McCaffrey helps McCaffrey. 49ers getting McCaffrey helps McCaffrey because Debo's there, and also helps Debo because McCaffrey's there now. Takes a little, and you throw Mitchell in there, that takes even a little bit more load off of him.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I think, yeah, you're right. Because then you run. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I wouldn't be surprised if OBJ don't end up in San Francisco.
Ooh, could you imagine if you had, excuse me, if you had Furyk, Debo, and then you had OBJ, and then you had Elijah Mitchell and CMC in the backfield? I mean, the endless amount of possibilities that you could run.
And the Ayuk. I mean, dude.
Oh, then you got Kittles too. We didn't even forget about George Kittles.
Yeah, they'd be loaded.
I do think. Don't be surprised. I really believe Cherry's going to make a big push and try to get OBJ to Dallas. If OBJ comes to Dallas, what does that mean for Dallas, Gonzo? Like, how does he transcend it?
I think that helps Dallas because it'll free Gallup up more for one, and it'll in a little bit of ways it can help free CD Lamb up, but it'll definitely free up Gallup if you get a guy like Beckham in there.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be a good move.
John Suggs though says there's rumors out there he's signing a $2 million contract with the Pats.
Huh.
Now, last time I heard, Odell doesn't want a 1-year deal. He wants at a bare minimum a 3 to 4 year deal because he's tired of unpacking his suitcases. Do you see him going to the Pats?
I hadn't heard that, but he might. I mean, there's some people that would like to play with Belichick. Honestly, I think he's either going to end up with the Dallas Cowboys or the Buffalo Bills.
That's my logical thinking. Is I'm thinking he's either going to wind up with the Cowboys or he's going to go to Buffalo specifically because he knows Buffalo, number one, is a contender, and number two, he's got his boy Von Miller over there. Yep. I don't know, man. We will see. We will see. We're going to move on now. We're going to get into some college Week 11 stuff. Gonzo, there is some really very, very extremely interesting games this week. Some games that could make a difference going forward. You know, Bama has slid down to number 9. They're getting ready to play Ole Miss, which is, I believe, ranked at number 11. Does Bama get upset again? Does Bryce Young lack the stats now to get into the Heisman watch seriously? And should Gibbs be taken seriously now in the Heisman look? Because he's got 113 carries for 771 yards and 6 touchdowns. So I got 3 questions for you, Gonzo. Number 1, does Ole Miss upset Bama? Number 2, does Bryce Young lack the stats to get into the Heisman? And number 3, should Gibbs be looked at seriously for the Heisman, given the stats I just told you?
I think Hooker's going to win the Heisman. I think he's still in that running. Honestly, tell me the other player you asked about, Gibbs.
Yeah. So does Gibbs?
I got a message and I was reading it at the same time.
No, you're okay. Don't worry about it. It's all good, man. No worries. Should Gibbs be considered now seriously for the Heisman, given that it's 113 carries, 771 and 6 touchdowns?
I think he'll be considered, but they usually give it to a quarterback. I mean, you know what I mean? We've seen years where somebody else besides the quarterback has got it, but most years the quarterback gets it. And I
understand that.
Yeah. I think unless Hooker just falls off the rest of the season, I think he's going to get it. I really do.
You know, Bo Nix and we'll talk about Bo Nix here in a minute. We're not going to get too much into Bo Nix right now, but I understand what you're saying about Bo Nix or May, the UNC quarterback that Suggs are referred to, May, and second in quarters QBR rating. So yeah, we'll talk a little Bo Nix. We're going to talk a little May here in just a few minutes.
That May is an underrated guy.
Yeah, and again, like I said, hold on May because we got a couple of questions on May that I'm going to bring up here in just a few minutes. We'll get more into Bojangles and
Can I
May.
ask you one question?
Yeah.
What'd you think about the new college football playoff rankings? What'd you think about the top 4?
Well, yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong because I'm going off my memory. It was Georgia at 1. I believe Ohio was at 2.
Yep.
Michigan was 3, and 4 was TCU, and then 5 was
Tennessee.
I forget who 5 was.
Tennessee.
Was it USC?
Tennessee.
I'm sorry, Tennessee. No, I like it. I do.
See, I didn't like it.
The only thing that I could possibly put in there would be Tennessee and Ohio. If I had to make a change to it, I probably would have put Georgia. I would have put Michigan. I would have put TCU. I would have put Tennessee, and then I have Ohio. I don't like Ohio. I think Ohio, in my opinion, is still kind of soft.
I think Michigan's going to beat Ohio State when they play. I really do.
Yeah, exactly. Because at the end of the season, you're going to find out exactly, right? Because they got to play each other.
But for the rankings right now, the thing I didn't like about it, I think Tennessee should have been 4 and TCU 5. And my reasoning is Tennessee was 1. Yes, they got tore up by Georgia, but you lose to Georgia, you shouldn't drop from loss to Georgia shouldn't drop you from 1 all the way to 5. I think they should have been in that 4th spot. And then if they don't play good this week, then move them out. But I think moving all the way down to 5 was a little far. When you lose.
And I can see that. I could. But let me tell you something. John Suggs. Look, I know you got. I think you have. What did he say? I think he's got Ohio at number 4. If you're not putting TCU in this top 4 mix, I got an issue with that. I got a big issue with that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying TCU don't deserve to be in there. I just didn't think Tennessee deserved to drop so far.
No, I will give you the Tennessee issue. The only thing is, oh God, I don't know, man. Because watch this. Here's where people are gonna bitch. You could say, well, Tennessee belongs there because they played other ranked people and this, that, and the other. So now you're telling me strength of schedule. Okay, how many people hate to hear the word strength of schedule? How many times I heard strength of schedule?
Yeah.
And then I give you a team like TCU who's undefeated. You're telling me that an undefeated team doesn't belong there, but yet you're gonna put and Gonzo. I'm not attacking you personally. I want you to think I am, but we're talking about putting a guy like Tennessee in there, and they've lost a game. Well, okay, you lost a game. That means you're not perfect. TCU's perfect right now. Why do we not put TCU in there? Unless we're talking strength of schedule.
No, I understand what you're saying, but my argument to that is, has TCU played at Georgia? You know what I mean?
Now we're talking strength, but now we're talking ranked teams, though, right? So now
that's what you're saying.
So now we're talking strength of schedule.
But see, I see what you're saying about TCU, but I also don't think if you're ranked number 1 in the country and you lose to the number 2 ranked team in the country, I don't think you should fall all the way to 5, is all I'm saying.
I don't think they should fall all the way to 5 either, but then you got to say, okay, if you don't fall to 5, then you got to be in the top 4. And if you're going to be in the top 4, that means you don't think TCU should be in there, because if you don't think TCU should be in there, then who are you going to drop? You're not going to drop Georgia. You're not going to drop Michigan. So now you're looking at either TCU or Ohio. So who do you think is better, TCU or Ohio?
Honestly, I think Ohio State's the weakest team that's in the top 4. That's
because I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it because, like I said in my previous statement, I don't like Ohio. I think Ohio is soft as Charmin. And so if you're gonna bounce Ohio out and put TCU in there and keep Tennessee, I'm okay with that too. Because I don't think for 1 minute that Tennessee is soft. You know what I'm saying? So if you wanna say, okay, Jay, we're gonna go Georgia, we're gonna go Michigan, we're gonna go Ohio, TCU. I mean not Ohio, TCU. Who's the other team?
Tennessee.
Thank you. If you want to put Tennessee and you want to put TCU and you want to put Michigan and Georgia, if you want to make that your top 4, and however you want to do it, you can't take Georgia out of 1. But if you want to take numbers 2 through 4 and rearrange it with whatever kind of configuration, I'm okay with that. But I just think that TCU should not be outside of top 4 because they're undefeated, and you in Ohio, again, Ohio's undefeated, and I think a lot of that will get resolved.
It's all gonna get settled here in a couple of weeks. Because
exactly, I think once Michigan plays Ohio, that's going to solidify everybody's way of thinking, right?
And TCU has a big game this week with Texas. That's not going to be an easy game.
He thinks that Kansas would beat TCU. TCU is suspect, in my opinion, yet they are flashing but not sure about their defense. Wait a minute. Isn't it the same team that Texas Longhorns just beat? Am I right? Didn't Texas just hand Kansas an ass whooping?
What?
No, it was at Kansas State. I think it was Kansas State.
I think
it was KSU that was ranked 13. But that Texas beat.
This is a big game for TCU this week against Texas.
Oh no, I'm okay with that. And you know what? Here's the thing, Gonzo.
It's not going. I don't think it's not. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be a good game. I don't think they're just going to roll over Texas. I think it's going to be a good game.
Oh no, number one, they're not going to roll over Texas because Texas is playing really good, and Ewers is there as well. So I don't think they roll over them. But I will say this, man, I'm very, very conflicted, Gonzo, because I am a UT fan. I've been a UT fan since I was a kid. Most of my family has graduated from University of Texas. My cousin, when I went to her wedding, her husband's groom's cake had the seal of University of Texas on his groom's cake. It was a University of Texas seal. And at their wedding, right before the groomsmen and the bride had their formal dance, they played the UT fight song at the wedding. I'm just saying. So we're a very UT-minded family. But at the same time, there's two things I understand. Number one, Texas will not make it to the Final Four. It's just not going to happen. But I'm a very, very loyal person to the state of Texas. So I don't know if I know that TCU has an opportunity to get to the national title and represent the state of Texas, I by all means want to see that happen. Does that mean I'm rooting against Texas? No. But if Texas loses and TCU wins, I will be sad, but I will also be happy because, again, Texas will be represented in the Final Four, with the Texas team. So it's a bittersweet thing for me, Gonzo. It's bittersweet, man. But it is going to be a hell of a good game, though. Jesus.
There's some good games. There's some good games this week.
So let's talk about, though. He talks about the Oregon Ducks moving up in the rankings. Yeah, Oregon is at 6. They're playing Washington. Bo Nix, for crying out loud. Does he get the Heisman? Well, let's look at it for a minute. We know Bo put up 274 yards and crushed Colorado with 2 touchdowns. And then he gave you 16 yards on the ground and another 2 more rushing touchdowns. So altogether, he had like 300 all-purpose yards and 4 touchdowns. Yeah, I think Bo Nix should be in there. Absolutely. Cam Baylor well, no, actually, I don't know why I'm talking about Baylor now. Yeah, so, again, that's actually a different game. I apologize.
You got Texas.
But Bo Nix. How do you not put – does Bo Nix, should he garner Heisman watch over Hooker?
I don't know if he'll get over Hooker, but he should be his name should be up there and be mentioned in it. He's playing well at Oregon. It's going to be interesting what happens with that. I think Oregon will beat Washington. Washington has a pretty good team. They have a pretty good quarterback themselves in Penix. Penix is a good quarterback that Washington has, but Washington's defense just hasn't been able to keep up either.
Hold on a minute. I just want to forget everything that I just saw Damian post. He says that Alabama is a rebuilding team. Yeah, they were ranked number 1 at the beginning of the season.
Jay, get this. Alabama is a rebuilding team, but they probably would beat 90% of the other teams in college football.
No, I know. I'm just taking a moment to erase that from my brain.
Just because they've lost a couple games this season, don't mean they're a real rebuilding team. What it means is that their conference is getting better because of the transfer portal.
Oh, absolutely. Could you imagine when Texas and Oklahoma get in there and because you got to imagine, Gonzo, not to go too far down this rabbit hole. But Texas, when Texas gets to the SEC and Oklahoma gets to the SEC, both of those two teams have great coaches. The one guy from Clemson and then obviously Sarkanian from the Alabama tree at Texas, and plus Texas is getting ready to get Archie Manning next year as a redshirt at all the recruits he's going to gather. My point is this: the SEC, man, come on now, you cannot be rebuilding and be where Alabama is in the SEC when you look at all the competition around it.
What the difference is that the conferences are getting better because of the transfer portal and because of the NIL. So now it's going to be harder for these. It's going to be harder for these teams.
To
stack up 4 or 5-star recruits at each position, like Bama was able to, because now these players can transfer and go other places and get to play, and they can make money. So you're going to start seeing a little bit more parity in some of these conferences. But Bama's not a rebuilding team. Are they as strong as they've been in the last couple of years? Maybe not. But they're not a rebuilding team. They're still good enough to beat probably 85-90% of college football teams.
And if anybody thinks that, I'm sorry, I had to go back to one real quick on TCU. TCU beat Oklahoma when they were ranked 18, 55-24. They beat Kansas Jayhawks when they were ranked 19, 38-31. They beat Oklahoma State when they were ranked number 8, 43-40. They beat Kansas State University 38-28, and they beat Texas Tech 34-24. And then they played Texas. So TCU has had some battle-tested moments. Let's not look past what TCU has done to get where their undefeated team is. Let's not look. I don't want anybody to look past what TCU has done. But that's for another day. Again, back to what we were talking about. Bo Nix. That's the main question I want to ask you, Gonzo. I figure you got Hooker, Bo Nix, and May. I really got to believe those are the top 3 quarterbacks. In my opinion, I'll throw Bryce Young in there at number 4. The one that I like about Bryce Young is his ability to scrap, his ability to get knocked down and continue to battle and continue to fight. Even though he may lose, he will fight and fight and fight. So I like his competitive desire. But those are my 4 guys. I know you're a Hooker guy. I'm a Hooker guy.
Carolina Panthers just kicked a field goal. Take the lead.
Well, there you go. They're already off to a 3-0 start.
Hey, dude.
But Gonzo.
Get this, though. The field goal hit the upright. It hit the upright and bounced in.
Hey, it hit the upright. Shit bounced in. Counts.
Yeah, hey, counts.
Hey, Gonzo. The ball hit the top of the wall and went out and went into the crowd. It's still a freaking home run. I don't care.
Oh, yeah. But
seriously, Gonzo, I want to know your opinion on this. You got Bo Nix, you got Hooker, you got May. Those are really my 3 guys. We're going to get more into May here in a minute. But what do you think about this, man? Like, who's your guy?
Are you talking about if I'm drafting?
No, you know what? Forget the Heisman. Are you
talking about if I'm drafting?
Yeah, that's about where I was going to go to. I was like, you know what? The Heisman, nobody cares about the Heisman. I mean, you can say whatever. But if you're drafting day 1 and you're in draft spot 2 and you got May, Hooker, and Bo Nix, who are you taking?
Ooh. I'm probably going to go with Hooker. I really like Hooker's skill set. And that's nothing against the other 2 guys because they're real good as well.
I understand. Yeah.
But I like what Hooker can do with his legs. Suggs says May is a sophomore, so I
get he's a sophomore, but you know what? He can still come out in the draft.
No, he has to play 1 more year of college.
Wait a minute. Is it different? Is it different than the NBA then? So they can come out. They have to wait 3 years. They have to wait till their junior year to come out.
Yep. In football, you got to wait till their third year. You have to play 3 years.
So it's different than basketball where you can come out in your sophomore, even after your freshman year, right?
Yep.
Well, then I learned something today. Okay, I learned something. I did not know that. Shit, hey, I learned something every day.
Because the physicality in football, they don't let the younger, like a freshman, go play in NFL. They think they need to have that experience before they go because of the physicality and which I kind of
listen. I understand. I did not realize that you had to play 3 years before you could come out. I did not understand. I thought it was like basketball where you could come out after your 2nd year. I did not know this. I learned something every day. It's all good stuff. So let me move on real quick. Again, we had TCU, Texas, Max Dugan versus Ewers. Who has the bigger game? Gonzo, I'm gonna let you answer that. Who has a bigger game, Dugan or Ewers? And that's a hard one to say because we all know what Ewers brings to the table, especially what we saw at the beginning of that Alabama game, which then, of course, he got hurt.
I'm gonna go with Ewers because I think he's healthier now.
Okay.
But
my second question is okay. So my second question is this: we all know, and a lot of people like to talk about Gibbs, running back from Bama. I didn't even talk to you about Robinson, the running back from Texas, and what he does. I personally think Robinson is a better running back than Gibbs, and a lot of people, some people disagree with me on that, but I think Robinson is a better running back than Gibbs. Who has a bigger day, Gibbs, Robinson, or the TCU defense?
I'm gonna go with Robinson because I think Texas is gonna win this game. I really do. So I'm gonna go with Robinson.
No, that's fine.
Jerry,
that's just
another running back that you didn't mention is the guy from Michigan. I can't think of his name.
Oh, right, you know what? I can't remember his damn name either.
He's a hell of a running back as well. But for some reason, his name
gets 24-18, and then TCU defense. John, I'm not going to let you talk like that, John. You take that back. John Suggs, you take that back.
He said you take it back. I'm looking for his name.
Man, hey, look that up real quick while I finish talking about this TCU. Look, or talk about Robinson. I think Robinson is probably one of the best running backs, and I'd have to really get a closer dive. You know what? That's what we're going to do. For Saturday's show, I'm going to do a deeper dive on the running backs of Georgia, Texas, and Michigan. So we'll do a topic just on those three running backs and how they square up.
Corum. That dude is tough.
Corum. Did I write that down? I don't think I wrote that down. Okay, yeah. So we'll do Corum, and we'll do Gibbs, and we'll do Robinson. We'll do a deeper dive next week on that, on Saturday, I should say. We'll do a deeper dive on that on Saturday. That might even be an opening topic for Saturday, just to kind of do a little bit more deeper dive to see who we think is the best running back out of those three in the crop. Again, we got Wake Forest versus North Carolina. I think most of us are going to go with North Carolina. Gonzo, if you think differently, I'll give you that 1 second here to tell me what you think. You know, Wake Forest did really, really well against Clemson. Of course, they didn't come away with the win. They lost it in overtime. My question is, Gonzo, number one, who do you have as a winner in that game? And then number two, will May continue his dominant performance against Wake Forest? And real quick, I just want to throw out May's stats because his stats are freaking phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
He's got almost 3,000 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and he's rushed on 114 carries for 513 yards and an additional 4 touchdowns, which I people are going to say, well, it's May. He's North Carolina. He doesn't play top competition, blah, blah, blah. It is what it is. I will tell you this. There is a certain amount of understanding that I can see what people are talking about, because if you go back to University of Houston when Case Keenum was there, people never understood. Case Keenum actually has the most passing yards in college football history.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a backup out there in Buffalo. So take that information and do with it as you will. 2 questions. Carolina, Wake Forest, May. Will he continue his dominance against Wake Forest?
I think so. I don't see Wake Forest going to be able to slow him down. The only thing that really worries me in that game, if anything, would be maybe North Carolina's defense. But I think North Carolina is going to win that game because I think their offense is going to be able to put up some points.
Yeah, Blake Corum, and I know that Gon we just talked about. So you had North Carolina over Wake Forest?
Yeah, have North Carolina winning that game.
And then how do you think May does? Does he have a dominant day, or does he have an average day, or is it going to be a North Carolina defense that wins it, or their running game?
I think he's going to have a good. I think he's going to have a good day. I don't know if he'll be dominant, but I think he'll have a real good day because I think they're going to have to score some points to beat Wake Forest because I don't think North Carolina's defense is going to shut Wake Forest down.
Right.
But if North Carolina can get their running game going, then I think May is really going to have a dominant performance because then that opens up your playbook even more when you can run the ball and you can get the play action and all that stuff. So, but I expect a big day out of May. I watched him play quite a bit last week and I was impressed.
Yeah, again, hey, me as well. And he says going to blow out from Wake Forest, going to blow out the door, LeLunk.
He's saying laughing out loud.
I think he says laugh out loud.
Yeah. North Carolina.
He said laugh out. Damn, Jay, come on now. Just because he didn't put a space don't mean you can't read. He said laugh out loud. UNC is going to blow out the door off Wake Forest. Yeah. I don't know, man. Look, given how well they played against Clemson, I don't know if they blow out the door, but I do think UNC gets the win. And if they do blow out the door, then it just shows you how much better UNC is than even what I thought. So, yeah, man, we're going to learn a lot about that for sure on Saturday. Let's get into NFL head coaching predictions on the coaching carousel. Gonzo, man, I'm going to give you a few teams, and I'm going to tell you the coaches I have, and then you give me your thought process, and we'll go from there. Matter of fact, we'll just take it game by game. Cardinals. You got to believe that Cliff Kingsbury's got to be on the hot seat. If he's not on the hot seat, he's got to be on the hot seat soon. I think if I'm the Cardinals owner, he's on the hot seat, and if he don't get me to the damn playoffs, I'm gonna let his ass go. I think a good replacement for Cliff Kingsbury would be the offensive coordinator, Shane, and I hope I say his name right, Steichen. He's a big part of that Eagles turnaround from the year before where they went to the wild card, and then this year where they are at being undefeated at number 1 in the league in the power rankings. He is in charge of all the play calling duties, and he's been in charge of all the play calling duties since before the wild card playoff game. The Cards are 3-6 this year under Kingsbury. Of course, they were losing towards the end of last season as well, so that win-loss number should be more in the loss column than the win column. We know that Hurts and Murray are very similar in style of quarterback. So if you got a guy like Stinson who comes from the Eagles to the Cardinals, the style of quarterback won't be much different. If anything, it's just going to make Murray a better quarterback than what he already is. So that would be my I would say the guy that I would try to bring in. Gonzo, what do you think for the Cardinals if they fire Kingsbury? Who would you want to bring in to replace him?
I haven't really thought a whole lot about that, but I do. But if I think Kingsbury, if I was the owner of that team, he's beyond the hot seat. He'd already been gone. I don't think Kingsbury's. I don't know. I just don't think he's an NFL coach. But I think they have a problem there as well. I know this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I think it's about time for him to move on from Kyler Murray as well. It sounds like his teammates. It sounds like he's hard to get along with. If you watch him during the games, his body language, he looks like he don't even want to be there.
Right.
My son's a big Cardinals fan, so I see a lot of the Cardinals football. Well, I don't see as much now since my son don't live with me no more. But I still keep track of some of it. And plus, he calls me all the time bitching about the Cardinals. But
but what's interesting to me is
I've always told him that Kyler Murray wasn't going to sign his second contract, that he was going to go play baseball.
Right. Because he had one, I believe, with the A's. He had a contract with the A's.
So I was surprised when he signed another contract with the Cardinals. But I still think in Kyler Murray's heart, he wants to play baseball. I really believe that. But I would a coordinator, if you're going to put a coach over there, I kind of like to see maybe Byron Leftwich, offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay. Maybe put him over there with Kyler Murray and with some of his offensive stuff. Maybe see if that wouldn't work out better. But I just don't think Cliff Kingsbury is a very good coach at all. Should never.
I agree.
My opinion, shouldn't be the NFL coach. I mean, he got fired in college. Went to USC.
Some people are just better at college. Look at Matt Rule. Look at Nick Saban. Some people are just better at the college world than they are at the pro world.
It's a totally different game.
Yeah.
In college, you have to go recruit everybody. You don't do that in the NFL. You're dealing with grown men in the NFL, not younger guys. It's totally different.
Though, I think before I ship off Kyler, because it's not. Let's be honest, man. If you look around the
right now,
quarterbacking world,
I mean, that's the problem though. Right now, if you get rid of
but I
Kyler,
think you get. But you know what?
who
Though,
you gonna
look,
get?
watch. If you look at the Phillies, right? Just take the Phillies for example. Under Girardi, they were horrible.
Yeah.
It was to the point where Baum, if that's how you say his name, I think it's Baum, came out and said he hated playing, just hated it.
Yeah.
And then they brought in, the interim coach Thompson, and then right before the playoffs, you talk to Baum, and he's just like, "Oh my God, I love this place. I can't imagine playing anywhere else." So my thought process is, do you really take Murray and get rid of Murray or discount Murray without bringing in a guy like, let's just say, like I said earlier? I mean, you can bring in a Leftwich. I mean, I think he's fine because he could bring in a Leftwich. You could bring in Shane Stinson, like I told you, that worked with Jalen Hurts. If you bring in a new coach who has a new philosophy that can work with quarterbacks, that can change your culture, what could that mean for the mindset of Kyler, number one? Does he re-engage and say, you know what, I'm here. Let's do this. I like this coach. I like the culture. I like the atmosphere. I like where we're going. And if you can get him to re-engage or buy in back in, where can Kyler go from? I think you've got to bring in a new coach first.
Yeah, I agree. And then
if he sucks, watch this. But if Kyler Murray sucks under the new system, then I think it's time you got to move on.
Perfect example of what you're saying, Jay, is look at Tua with the Miami Dolphins.
No, that's true. Look Tua.
Look how much he's better. He's playing better this year with a new coach.
Yeah, so, I don't want to discount Flores though, but yeah.
Before you get rid of Kyler, you need to try him with a different coach. I can agree with you on that.
Yeah, you just got. I say before you get rid of because I think he does have the athletic ability.
I think he has ability.
Before you move on.
It's just sometimes
you got to give him at least one more chance.
He just don't look like he's engaged sometimes, but he has the ability.
You know what though? But you know what, Gonzo? Sometimes when you're in a losing situation or a losing culture or a losing philosophy, mentally, sometimes you do just say hell with it and disengage.
Yeah, it can mentally break you. It really can.
Let's move on to the Panthers real quick. You know that they just got rid of Matt Rule. I hate to say this because he's always one of my coaches, but I think the Panthers could benefit off of a Dan Quinn. You can say what Dan Quinn did in his last year with the Jaguars wasn't exactly impressive, but you also have to remember that Dan Quinn was the same coach that had you in the Super Bowl and had you in the lead until you went in the second quarter against Tom Brady. So don't look past Dan Quinn too much because sometimes a change of scenery can rebuild you. And he's had a hell of a lot of success. If you haven't looked at Dallas Cowboy defense lately, he's had a hell of a lot of success over there in Dallas. So I think with his experience in the NFC South, his experience of building up defenses, he's been to a Super Bowl. He did pretty good in the first half of the Super Bowl. I think he's got good defensive pieces in place with J.C. Horn, and there's also two other guys. I can't remember their names right offhand, but they've got some good defensive capital to build off of. And then they have lots of draft picks from that McCaffrey trade and so forth that you can rebuild. So I think Dan Quinn, in my perspective for the Panthers, would be an extremely good spot for them. What do you think, Gonzo? What would be a good fit for Carolina?
I agree with you. I think Dan Quinn would be a good fit. Another guy that I think would be a real good fit, but I'm not sure if he's wanting to coach. But if I'm the Panthers, I'd reach out to him, is Jim Caldwell.
Yeah.
I think Jim Caldwell would be great for a young team like the Panthers. Because look what he did in Detroit. He was winning in Detroit, and then for some reason Detroit got rid of him. Didn't make no sense. But no, I think Jim Caldwell would be a great fit for a younger team that's rebuilding like the Panthers.
Yeah, and I might even look at the offensive coordinator for the Giants. I can't remember his name, but that offensive coordinator for the Giants is getting a hell of – obviously Debo has a lot to do with the turnaround of the Giants, but that offensive coordinator is doing a good job with Jones and Saquon. So you got to look – I'll probably look at him as well.
John Suggs says Bieniemy.
I've been preaching Bieniemy for a while now. I wouldn't have a problem. The only problem with Bieniemy is I've heard reports that some players don't get along with him.
Yep, that's all. I think that's the only thing that's held him back from
Yeah, and that's the
job.
only thing. I mean, you saw that last season when they were going up against the Bengals in that second half, and Mahomes and Bieniemy just weren't in sync, and that's what
it happened
cost them that second half.
It happened right before halftime, and then they never got back in sync after that.
And we have seen it a couple of times in this season as well, where Mahomes and offensive coordinator Bieniemy have not been in sync with each other. So I don't know. I think Bieniemy could, it depends on how he interviews, and I've heard he has had some rough interviews.
Let me ask you this, because you're a Cowboys guy. What about Kellen Moore? Do you think he gets a head coaching opportunity?
Man, do I think he? Yeah, I think Kellen Moore needs an opportunity. At least, if nothing else, he needs the opportunity to interview. Kellen Moore is a really good offensive-minded guy. And a lot of times, those offensive-minded coaches, they don't necessarily get the head coaching spots. It goes a lot of times to the defensive end guys. But do I think Kellen Moore should have a shot or at least get an interview or whatever? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. The only thing that I don't like about Kellen Moore is I feel like there's not enough motion in the offensive scheme of Dallas. And I don't know if that is a McCarthy issue or even a Jason Garrett issue or what that was maybe telling him that, no, we're not doing this or that. But I think if Kellen Moore had more motion in his offense, then yeah, absolutely. And I think he probably would. He's a great creative guy. He's young, he's innovative. And that's what a lot of these coaches are. The Sean McVays, the other coaches that are out there, they're doing that. The Flores's, the not Josh McDaniels, but the Mike McDaniels down there in Miami, Dable, those kinds of guys are doing great.
I'm glad you said that, because I think Flores would fit in great with Carolina.
I actually have a team for Flores to go to, but I can see Flores in Carolina. I can see that. Real quick, Cowboys. Sean Payton, if he's available, I swear to God, Jesus Christ, Jerry Jones. If you don't go get Sean Payton, I'm going to pay you a visit. I'm going to sneak past your security. I'm going to pretend to be your donut deliverer. I don't care, but we're going to have a conversation.
What if McCarthy takes you guys to the say you guys make the NFC Championship game this year? Do you replace McCarthy with Payton?
Yeah, I still do. Look, nothing against. Well, I got a lot against McCarthy. I still think he's great. I think McCarthy is very, very antiquated in what he does. And I just like Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton can get the most out of Dak. I think he can get the most out of any quarterback he has. Look what he did with Drew Brees when he came over from San Diego, and people were just throwing him under the bus, and then he goes and beats the best things to slice bread for the city of New Orleans. I think he can do that. And look what he did for what's his face's career when he came up from Tampa Bay, Jameis Winston. Now, he couldn't help the fact that he got hurt, but he was slowly resurrecting Jameis Winston. So I think Sean Payton can get our quarterback situation under control. I think he can require the discipline to be in our team. He's not a yes man to Jerry, which is what we need, because the last time we didn't have a yes man, we were in a Super Bowl. We need that. We need a guy like Sean Payton to come in and resurrect this Dallas team. And he's young enough to where he can be innovative enough to keep us where we need to be. And I think he would allow a guy like Kellen Moore to do what Kellen Moore does, which is create the offense and let Dan Quinn do what Dan Quinn does if he doesn't leave. So yeah, I think Sean Payton would be beautiful for Dallas. What do you think would be good for Dallas? Again, Flores would be great for Dallas, but I don't think he's going to bring in Flores.
Yeah, I think Sean Payton could end up in Dallas. I think a lot of it has to depend on what, or depends on how this season goes. If you're going to replace McCarthy, but if you replace McCarthy, I do think they're going to make a run at Payton. A place I think Payton might end up is with the Los Angeles Chargers.
Right.
I really think he could end up there with that, because they have a pretty good defense. They have a young.
Oh, they let go of Staley then.
Huh?
They let go of Staley then and bring in him.
Yeah, I think Staley's on the hot seat. I really do. I know he's had a lot of injuries, but that team's not performing like they should, and he don't know how to manage a game. He'll go for it on fourth down on his own 20. He don't give a damn. Some of the stuff he does is crazy. So I can see maybe there or Dallas. I think Chargers and Dallas are top two for Peyton.
And again, I look at this comment, and again, John Suggs. I understand where you're coming from because, Dak did wonderful things in the regular season. We know how well he played, and then it gets to the postseason, and he just goes, and doesn't do anything. You can probably say the same thing for Tony Romo and all the quarterbacks before him, up until when they had Troy Aikman. But you also have to understand Dak Prescott isn't the only issue that was going on with Dallas. A lot of it had to do with the play calling. So, yeah, if a guy's not turning the ball over, which if you look at Dak Prescott in his career, you know that he doesn't turn the ball over very often. If a guy's not turning over the ball very often and you're not putting motion in your team, there's some issues there with the play calling. So you got to look at the play calling too. You can't just say everything is on Dak's shoulders and Dak is a bust and Dak is this and Dak is that. You got to look at all the coaches that he had before that and be like, where was the play calling? How was the play calling suiting him? And would it have suited anybody else that way? So look at the other guys and not just only Dak in that equation. He says Brady hasn't had an interception since week 1 and their team looks terrible. Hey. Man, look, that's more than just Brady, though, right? That's a whole damn team, okay? But, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. And it's easy to pick Dak out. He's an easy guy to pick out, right? All right, we're going to move on to the Colts. This is your team. Who should the Colts hire? They brought in, as we know, Saturday is interim, and he'll finish up the season. But when it's done, where do they go? And, again, I talked to you, and I said this a minute ago to you, the offensive coordinator, Mike Kafka, for the New York Giants. Should they possibly take a look at him? Your O-line is a question. Quarterback is a question. You have a great running back. I don't know. Who does that sound like? Maybe the Giants before Dable got there?
We have a real solid defense as well.
Oh, yeah. But what I'm saying is, does that have hints or characteristics to where the New York Giants were before Dable got there? Great quarterback. He just doesn't stay healthy. So, again, when Dable took over, that team changed. Well, who's under Dable? Kafka. Kafka had a lot to do with that as well. Don't put it all just on Dable.
Yeah.
So, no play calling is I think the lack of play calling in New York, or I should say, quote unquote, Kafka has had play calling duties in New York. I can't read my own handwriting. So when you look at the play calling, it's all Kafka. I'm sure Dable gives him some hints, but it is his duties. Jones is having the best season. Saquon's having an amazing season. We know that Reed, Mahomes, Dable, all guys that came out of the same situations. So don't look past Kafka. I think Kafka could really do some amazing things out there with the Colts and revitalizing it. What do you think, Gonzo? Who would be your choice for the Colts?
I think it's going to be. I actually think the Colts' next coach is a good chance of being Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah. We all saw what he did with Detroit, right?
Or with the 49ers.
Yeah. Or excuse me, no, I'm thinking of Jeff Caldwell. I apologize, Caldwell. Whatever.
No, I'd be happy if they brought Jim Caldwell back to the Colts because I didn't think he deserved to be fired when he got fired. It wasn't his fault.
Yeah,
he couldn't play, and we didn't have a backup quarterback in place. But I've been hearing a lot of rumors they're going to get somebody from college, and if they go that route from college, I hope it's Jim Harbaugh. He's had success in the NFL before. I mean, he took the 49ers to a Super Bowl, had him in a couple of NFC championship games. We have a solid defense. I think he could come in there and maybe help get our offense going. I think that'd be a good choice. I think the Kafka, like you said, would be a good choice. I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad if they brought Flores in.
You see what John Suggs said?
Yep. Lane Kiffin. I've heard rumors about maybe Kiffin as well, but I think Flores.
Kiffin goes to Auburn. I think Kiffin's going to go to Auburn.
I think Flores could do a good job as for the Colts. I think Flores could be a good pick,
especially when it comes to your drafting. I think he drafts well.
But I think, from what I'm hearing, I think Jim Harbaugh might be a good chance that Jim Harbaugh might be the next guy.
That's interesting. Hey, I wouldn't be mad if Jim Harbaugh came there. I thought he did great things with the 49ers and such, so that wouldn't be a bad idea. We're going to move on to the last team that I had put out there was the Saints. You know that Dennis Allen currently is with the Saints, and the Saints just look terrible. They're 3-6 right now under Allen. I think I bring in Flores. This is where I think Brian Flores goes. I think he goes there. I think he restores the defense. I think he gets the most out of Jameis Winston.
Let me ask you this real quick. Do you think they're going to move on from Allen after this season?
Do I think they will? Probably not. Do I think they should? Yes. And if they do, where do they go? And I think Brian Flores is the right guy. Dennis Allen is not the right guy.
I think Flores would be a good fit, but I don't think Allen is going to get fired after this year, just because of so many injuries they've had. Then you ain't had Michael Thomas all season. Your quarterbacks can't stay healthy. You've been starting Andy Dalton. You know how that goes. You guys had him last year or the year before?
Yeah. I like how John says Dave Aranda, Baylor head coach, is high on the list. Man, okay, what was the last coach that came out of there? Matt Rule? Have I said enough?
But no, I think he is high on the Colts list. That's the bad thing.
Kamara, that's a go. Is he going to be with New Orleans next year?
He might be suspended for a while.
Hey, listen. Damn, that's a good point. Hey, John, that's a good point. I see where you're going with that, and I agree with you. All right, man, look, we're going to get to this last topic, and then we're going to watch some football again, right? Like he said earlier, Gonzo said earlier, right now it's 3-0 with 8:45 left to go in the second quarter.
Hey, Panthers are in scoring position right now.
Man. What a time to be alive. Judge, Tani, who deserves to be the MVP? I've said a lot of things on Facebook talking about this. People talking about this. I'm not going to mention names. Rob Johnson has been talking. Rob Johnson's been talking about this, and me and him have had quite the text message exchange on this. And it's time to put this to rest. John Suggs comes in and supports Otani. My first thing is, let's look at Judge for a minute. Then we'll look at Otani. And then me and Gonzo are going to have a conversation. John, throw your comments in there. Anthony, throw your comments in there. And let's see where this goes. We know that Judge just got the award. Was it the Hank Aaron? He just got an award for being the most productive person on the AFC side offensively. And I don't want to say this wrong. What is that word? What was it? I should have wrote it down. Damn it. Why didn't I write it down?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Hold on. I'm going to get this. I'm not letting this slide by. I tell you what, you make your case real quick, and because I want you to come back to me. Gonzo, who deserves it, Otani or Judge?
I think Judge is going to get it. You're talking about a guy. Not only did he hit the 62 home runs. I know that's what a lot of people focused on. But if you look, he was leading baseball in almost every category. Barely missed the Triple Crown. If he would have got the Triple Crown, I think for sure it wouldn't even be a conversation. He'd been MVP, wouldn't have been a conversation. But honestly, I don't think it should be much of a conversation now. He missed it by what? A couple percentage points on his batting average from getting the
Hey, Gonzo, I want you to talk about this. I want you to bring this up. John Suggs says, but Aaron Judge choked in the playoffs. Hey, real quick, where was Otani?
Yeah. And when they do these MVP awards, they don't go by the playoffs. It goes by regular season.
Oh, that's right. Regular season. That's right. Damn it.
And I'm not taking Ohtani had a good year, but
he did.
But did Ohtani having a good year lead to his team winning games? Judge's year of having a great year helped lead the Yankees to the playoffs. And like I said, he missed from having a triple crown by like two percentage points or something on his ERA. I just
it really was too. I think he finished there about 314 and 316 was the top.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. To me, if Judge don't get it, I consider it basically a robbery.
Oh, it's a robbery. It's a hell of a fight. And here's my thing. It was a Hank Aaron Award. Goldschmidt got the Hank Aaron Award for the National League, and Judge got the Hank Aaron Award for the American League. And the Hank Aaron Award goes to the best offensive player in each individual league, American and National. So I want to put that out there. First of all, I'm going to start off with Judge. Number one, he got the Hank Aaron Award. That means he's the best hitter in the American League.
Yeah.
Best. Like Gonzo said, he had the Triple Crown at one point, but his quest for 62 caused him to chase the ball more than what he would because pitchers weren't going to pitch to him. And that cost him those critical basis points in the average category because the Triple Crown is average, RBI, and home run. Now, he's at number one in RBIs. He's number one in home runs, and he's number 5 in average because those 2 or 3 basis points allowed other people to slide up in there. But either way, he was barely a Triple Crown. He broke 62 or 61 that Roger Maris had, and he did it clean without roids or anything else. I want to make sure you understand that. He led 2 out of 3 categories, and he was in the top 5 in the first category of average. Ohtani wasn't anywhere in that conversation as a hitter. So that's the hitting aspect. Now let's go to the pitching aspect. Ohtani wasn't a top 5 pitcher either. He's a great pitcher. Had a 2.33 ERA. Cy Young is at 1.75. So he's not the best hitter. He's not the best pitcher. He didn't get a Cy Young, and he didn't get a Hank Aaron. When I look at a guy like Ohtani, he's like a master of all trades. Or he's a master of all trades, but an expert at none. Or no, I'm sorry, a jack of all trades. I know he's going to get this right. He's a jack of all trades, but a master at none. Now, you cannot compare a positional player with a pitcher. It's just not equitable. It's not fair because there's no way that Aaron Judge could ever be a pitcher. That's not what he does. He's a positional guy. So you can't really compare apples to oranges. You got to go apple for apple. So let's look at Ohtani as a hitter and Ohtani as a fielder. Because last time I checked, a pitcher is still a fielder. A pitcher could qualify for a gold glove. I know that because I've seen several Astro players get gold gloves as pitchers. So let's just take the pitching and hitting element and let's focus at that. If you look at the UZR, which is, and I forget what UZR stands for. I know it, but I can't remember anymore. But I think it's Ultimate Zone something. Rated. I think it's Ultimate Zone Rating System. I think is what it's called. But Ultimate Zone Rating. That's what UZR. UZR stands for Ultimate Zone Rating. It's the measurement that they grade fielders on as to who gets a gold glove or doesn't get a gold glove. That's, measurement. That is the system of measurement that they use. He got a 26.0, Judge did, on the UZR scoring. That's best among right fielders with the exception of Tucker for the Astros. Tucker actually got number 1 at right field, but Judge came in right behind him. He got 16 defensive run saves. 16 times from right field, he threw out the runner at home plate. So let me see. He's second at right field He got a 26.0 on the UZR for fielding metrics. He's a 5-tool guy, and he owns 2 out of 3 in the hitting category. Wow. How crazy is that? Ohtani bats 273 with 95 RBIs, well below Judge's 131, well below Aaron Judge's 311 average. It's actually 311. I apologize. The guy that took it was out of Minnesota, Razos, whatever his name is. He had a 316. So he was actually he was 5 basis points off of that. He finished at 15 wins and 9 losses, and he had a 1.01 whip. Just so you know, Hunter Brown had 2 appearances coming out of the minor leagues and went 2-0 with a .85 ERA and a .95 whip. Just so you can kind of think about that for a minute. He did have 219 strikeouts on 166 innings pitched. So he was a good pitcher, but not in the DeGrom, Scherzer, Kershaw, Verlander, and the list goes on at that level. He's close at 2.33 ERA. He's close, but even Framber Valdez had a better or close to better ERA. So 2 of Houston's pitchers were better than Ohtani. Just think about that for a minute. So in what way can you quantify Ohtani stat-wise being better than Aaron Judge, who is a master at hitting and close to being a master at fielding, versus the guy who is a jack of hitting, a jack of pitching, but a master at none? I'm just saying, how do you quantify apples to oranges? If you don't think that Judge is the MVP, and this is coming from an Astros fan who hates the New York Yankees, maybe you got to reevaluate the way you look at the MVP.
Did you see what John said?
What do you think, Gonzo?
Real quick, did you see what John said?
Oh, no, I was too busy giving up my damn stats. I was just about to put up what he put up. Yankees were more stacked than the Angels, let's be honest.
I was talking about the next one.
Oh, I'm getting ready. Ohtani, because no, listen, man, I'm with you. John, I hate the Yankees. I really do.
Hey, I hate the Yankees as well, but
I do, man.
I think it would be a robbery if they don't give Judge an MVP this year.
I really got to be honest with you.
The offensive year he had, it's just unbelievable.
I got to be honest with you. The only way I give Ohtani ever in my life the MVP, and I have no problems giving Ohtani the MVP, but the only way he gets the MVP in my imagination is if he captured the Cy Young and he was a top 5 in the batting average.
Because I don't even think he was in the top 3 for the Cy Young, was he?
No, he was much further back.
I had it wrote down, but I'm looking.
He said, Gonzo, when you're a Reds fan, hell, any team but Yankees, you win. Laugh out. No, I think Ohtani was probably.
But here's my other thing.
I think he's top 10. He's top 10, but he's not in the top 5.
No, he's
not with a 2.33 ERA.
Yeah, he wasn't in the top 3 for the AL Cy Young. So how are you going to make him MVP when he didn't have it? He didn't over Judge, who had a better offensive season than what Ohtani had. So
right.
Yeah.
And again, and my point is, if Hank Aaron Award goes to Judge for offensive production, and he has no award, he has no Hank Aaron, he has no Cy Young, how do you compare a guy who has no awards with a guy who has an award, who owns 2 out of the 3 categories? It's just too stacked on that level. You can't just say because, he's a great pitcher, he's a great hitter, because he can do 2 different things like that, automatically it makes him an MVP. No, it doesn't automatically make you an MVP.
No.
You gotta be at top of whatever it is you're doing. So if you're a pitcher, if you got the Cy Young and you're a top 5 hitter, okay, yeah, you got some basis or some merit. But if you're not even a Cy Young and you're not even a top 5 hitter, how are you going to base that?
Yeah. Like I said,
What a time to be alive.
You said that was the last topic, Jay?
Yeah, man. We getting into some final thoughts. You want to lead it off?
Okay. Well, my final thought is with tomorrow being Veterans Day and all. This is an organization here in Indiana. I don't know if you can see it. It's called HVAF.
Yes.
Helping veterans and families. They have helped. Last year, they helped over 1,400 veterans. 30,000 services were provided to veterans. 175 veterans were employed, and they helped house 325 plus veterans. They own 12 houses here in Indiana, in the Indianapolis area, that they use to give veterans homes and help them get back on their feet. They're always looking for donations and stuff. If you want to check them out, you can find them at hvaf.org is their website. But they're a great organization. We actually was at a wrestling show the other day that was a benefit for them to help raise money because they go out and feed homeless veterans every day. So if you're looking for an organization for Veterans Day to maybe support, HVAF would be a great one.
Hell yeah, man. And you can, and I'll make sure to put that on my I'm gonna make a Facebook post for hvaf.org. I'll have a post on there for donations as well in case you don't remember. So I'll put something out for that as well. Gonzo, number one, I appreciate you recognizing veterans. It means a lot. Tomorrow is Veterans Day. By the way, this is the one time a year, not one time, I'm just saying the one holiday. This is the one holiday a year where it's good to tell any veteran Happy Veterans Day. And I want to make sure you understand the difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Don't tell veterans Happy Veterans Day on Memorial Day because that's a time of mourning or reflection on those who have lost their lives in the event of freedom. But tomorrow is the day. Tomorrow is the day to recognize veterans and what they've done for our freedom and our livelihood. HVAF.org would be a great place to truly give thanks to veterans, right? It's one thing to thank a veteran. It's another thing to put a donation to a veteran that may be struggling. And that's the best way to say thank you is with your donation. So make that donation. It's a hell of a good cause. And Gonzo, I appreciate you bring that and sharing that with us because that's, in my mind, that's very, very huge.
Well, we have too many veterans that are homeless. People that went and fought for the freedoms that we all enjoy that are homeless, and that's not right. If you can help a veteran, even if it's not, I know this company here is based out of Indiana. Find if you're from a different state, find a veterans foundation that's in your state. But there shouldn't be homeless veterans running around the world when they're the reason we get to enjoy the stuff we enjoy.
Couldn't have said it any better myself, man. What Gonzo said is 100% factual based. And again, if you fought or joined or served in any capacity in defense of the United States, man, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, you are my brother, you are my sister. I love you, and I will be donating to that organization because I do know what it means to see veterans that are struggling, that don't have the financial aid from the Army or from the VA for different reasons, and they need help. And it's our responsibility as Americans to provide that help. So again, I can't tell you enough, Gonzo, man. Thank you, brother.
And Panthers are up 10-0.
Panthers! Go Panthers! Jesus!
No, man. Like I said, I was at the wrestling show we done Sunday was to help all the ticket money went to this organization, and they actually came and set up a booth there and was passing out flyers and stuff to everybody. It was a good deal. This was the second year that I've been a part of that wrestling show that does it for them. And I told myself, give me one of your brochures and I'll promote you guys on my shows. So I've been promoting them on all the shows because I think it's a great cause. I have some veterans in my family as well. It's just that's something nobody, in my opinion, nobody should be homeless. but especially somebody that's fought for this country shouldn't be homeless.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, and I just checked it out. Yeah, HBAF.org. No heroes should be left homeless. So yeah, I'll be putting that on my Facebook page. Hopefully a lot of other people will. Let's get the word out and let's help some veterans. Let's help some veterans find a home, and let's take care of those who took care of us. Thoughts on Kyrie? If I was him, I would apologize for that shit. You know what? LeBron came out and said he thinks that like they're doing too much, that Kyrie shouldn't be suspended 5 days, that he should be out there playing, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, because the 6 things that was asked of him was too hard. Let's see. What were the 6 things again? Apologize. Okay. Give $500,000 to one of the organizations to prevent hate speech. Okay. Go to a sensitivity training. Go to a anti-Semitism training, and then make an apology or talk to Joe Tsai, your employer, about what you've learned. Oh, my God. That's just asking so much from Kyrie that he thinks we're asking too much. LeBron, I love you. I love what you do for the educational needs and all your charitable things, but your way of thinking, my brother, is so convoluted and jacked up that it makes me sick. To think that you think those little 6 things are so big when all it is talking about training and education so you can have a better thought process when you're deciding on what to and what not to endorse.
Here's my thing, Jay. And this is what I would ask LeBron. If it would have been a white guy saying hate speech,
we know where that's going.
Saying hate speech about black guys, would 5 games and asking for an apology, would that be too much? No, you guys would be yelling and screaming that's not a harsh enough penalty.
If that happened, there would be rioting, looting, breaking of buildings, destroying of small businesses.
You can't have punishment for one thing way up here and then punishment down here for another thing. It has to be consistent.
Oh, my God. This is coming from Kyrie, who says he's the beacon of light. He's the beacon of light. But yet he's supporting a hate-filled, speech-filled book. And he doesn't believe in the Holocaust. But he's the beacon of light. Fuck out of here, Kyrie. Get the fuck out of here. No offense, but get the fuck out of here. You ain't never even seen Auschwitz. You ain't never been to Dachau. You never been to one concentration camp. But yeah, you're going to spread the word of hate through your endorsement, and you're scared to go to sensitivity training. You're scared to go to anti-Semitism training.
You know another thing they should have made do in them 5 things? They should have made him go to Washington, D.C. and go to the Holocaust Museum.
When you walk through the streets of Auschwitz and you go into the chamber where they give you a shower and they close the doors behind you and you think you're about to get thrown down with some water and some soap.
Yeah.
And instead of water coming out of the spigot, it's gas and you choke to death. And then when you're done choking to death, they take you to the next room and then they burn you. And then they throw your ashes out into the dump yard. When you walk to Auschwitz and you feel the meaning of death and you know what the death feels like because you're walking down the same roads they walked down before they died, and then you think there's no Holocaust, and then you want to throw out hate speech, you know what? It is what it is. I said what I said, and I believe what I believe, and Kyrie has no clue as to anything that he says, but yet he's the beacon of light. He's the beacon of light. I wonder if Kyrie Irving would have been a beacon of light if he stepped into that shower stall and they closed the doors behind him and then gas came out of that spigot. I wonder if Kyrie Irving would be the beacon of light. I wonder if he would have begged for his life. I wonder if he would have prayed to stop being tortured as the oxygen is coming out of his lungs. I wonder if Kyrie Irving would have been the beacon of light. I don't know. Something to think about. Something to think about. All right, folks. On a lighter note, man, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. John Suggs, Anthony Price, Damian Gonzalez. I love and appreciate.
Whoa. Don't ever say Damian Gonzalez.
I'm gonna say he still shows up. Do I agree with what he says?
Oh,
no.
Hey, his last name ain't Gonzalez.
Hernandez.
Don't call him a Gonzalez.
You know, there are times in your life when you just gotta sit back and reflect on all of your wrongdoings. This is probably one of those times. Hey, this is one of those times. Gonzo, I'm sorry. Damian Hernandez. Let me get that name correct, because God knows I don't want nobody toilet paper in my house. Hey, Damian Hernandez, thank you for tuning in, brother. Gonzo, as always, I love you, man. You are my brother. I tell your pops I said hi, and I hope to see him in the comments section or on the show at some point. I truly appreciate your father. And man, thanks for being on here, man. I hope you're gonna be on here more often.
Hey, I try to be on every Tuesday and Thursday. Last Tuesday I just had some stuff, Tuesday I just had some stuff come up. I was a little bit late today, but I'll be here.
Hey, because I'm telling you, man, Gonzo brings the sports knowledge, and he keeps me correct on the wrestling stuff. Let me tell you. All right, folks. Gonzo, real quick before we get out of here, tell the folks. God, you have so many shows you're on. Just tell everybody where they can find you outside of Unscripted.
You can find us at Gonzo Sports Room, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, basically all social media at Gonzo Sports Room. You can find us. I'm usually live doing a show from anywhere from about 9 a.m. to about midnight most days. So, but yeah, you can find all the information about all of our shows at Gonzo Sports Room on basically any social media platform.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. Gonzo has a lot of different wrestlers that come on his show. If you guys are into wrestling, you'll love his show. He's got a lot of different pro wrestlers, indie pro wrestlers, things like that, that do interviews. I know you had a guy, Christian. Was it Cash or Christian? Who was it last time?
Christian Cash was yesterday.
Yeah, Christian Cash was on there yesterday. So check out Gonzo Sports Room, man. Lots he just had Mick Foley on there, and at the Carnage, and I mean, guys got all kinds of stuff, man. You can't miss out. And then he also has a sports betting show. Check out Gonzo's Sport Picks. It comes on right after the afternoon show. And then don't forget, he goes on with the judge at 11. Yep. They have a show at 11 o'clock. Was it Monday through Friday, right, Gonzo?
The show with the judge is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 Eastern for that show. And again, you can catch Gonzo just about everywhere, man. All right, man. Hey, Gonzo, man, much love, and I will see you on Monday. Because I know you got Saturday doing sport or wrestling, but guess I'll see you Monday at 1, my brother.
All right. You're gonna be on tomorrow?
Tomorrow's Friday. I will see you tomorrow. I'm sorry, man. Hey, we had this hurricane thing, and the wife was out of school. For some reason, I kept thinking today was Friday, but I know it's Thursday. So, yeah, my bad. I will see you Friday at 1 o'clock. Y'all be good, man. Catch me and Gonzo Friday at 1. Until then, it's your boys, Jay McLovin and Gonzo Chris Gonzalez saying, see ya.